Ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for tuning into the Great Lakes Pro-Am Series tonight, brought to you by Pro Waste Management, Distinct Drift, Formula Drift. As you can see on your screen, the drivers are lined up so we can get this intro ready, but first we ask that you please rise and take observation of the flags for the Canadian and the American National Anthem before we get driver intros underway. Thank you.
Good evening, Lake Erie Speedway. My name is Darren Hodricourt, accompanied by here Zach Snyder. We're going to be going through your top 32 drivers introduction. First and foremost, we want to give a big thank you to our Umbrella Girls, sponsored by Distinct Drift. Each driver will be accompanied by one. Our first driver, hailing from Colchester, Connecticut, driving a 2006 5.2 Voodoo Mustang, sponsored by Paragon Pro, Redline Oil, GenSport, Advanced Clutch Technology, Fuel Injector Clinic, and Fuel Suspension. Give it up for driver number 20, Eric Kananowitz. Moving on, hailing from Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, driving a 1JZ S14, sponsored by Distinct Drift, ACT Clutches, XXR Wheels, Fortune Auto, and the Huey Brothers. Our 2024 Great Lakes Pro-Am reigning and defending champion. Give it up for Troy Manners. All right, moving on, hailing from Chicago, Illinois, driving a 1999 1.8-liter turboed Mazda Miata, sponsored by Redline Oil and RGR Design. Give it up for Chris Fosnock. Moving on from Hemlock, New York, driving a BMW E36 with a 358 carbureted SBC motor, sponsored by Derail Performance, ISS Pro, Open Fender, Racing for a Cure, Schwarzcraft, Retro Motorsports USA, Nathan Self Photography, and 454 Media. Give it up for Jacob Schuster. From Silver Creek, New York, driving a 2009 LS2 135i, sponsored by Grip Royal and LSE 9X, driver number 247, Joshua Leatherborough. On to our next driver, hailing from Mansfield, Ohio, driving an LS Nissan 240SX, sponsored by Optima Batteries, IRB Speed, Custom Trends, and Hawk Performance. Driver number 18, give it up for Blake Dodge. From Diamonddale, Michigan, driving a 2JZ 240SX, driver number 88. Give it up, Lake Erie Speedway, for Mo Eldamine. From Silver Creek, New York, driving a supercharged 2003 Mustang GT, sponsored by Synergy Race Development. Driver number 7, give it up for Dylan Weber. Hailing from Fredonia, New York, driving a cammed LS3 Subaru BRZ, sponsored by Race Lab Industries. Driver number 911, Tom Snyder. His hometown is Salem, Ohio, driving a Lingenfelter 454 LS7 Corvette, sponsored by Lingenfelter Performance Engineering, Stratton Chevrolet, Fortune Auto, FDF Race Shop, True Fiber, Oracle Lighting, and Valino Tire. Give it up for driver number 33, Dirk Stratton. His hometown is Oak Harbor, Ohio, driving a 2003 LS9 Nissan 350Z, sponsored by FabMac Industries, Wilder Drift, Lake Erie Speedway, Kong Performance, Wagner Automotive, Extreme Graphics, and Koenig Wheels. Give it up for driver number 480, Alan Boss. His hometown is Canton, Ohio, driving a 4.8-liter LS 240SX, sponsored by Major League Tire, CB Glass, Evolution Transport. Driver number 11, Adam Bergner. Hailing from Sandusky, Ohio, driving a Nissan 370Z. His sponsors are Yeetworks. Driver number 99, Brendan Gibson Fraley. From the 716 of Buffalo, New York, driving a 414 CI LSE 46 BMW, sponsored by We Care Home Care, Good Squad, and the Big Indian Drift Pit. Give it up for Henry Donahue. From Elyria, Ohio, driving a 370Z Turbo, sponsored by 2 Horsepower Media, Continental Performance, Oddball Motorworks, VPF Performance, and Great Lakes Auto Glass. Give it up for Theon Nelson. Making the long trip from Laconia, New Hampshire, driving a 2007 CTS Turbo 5.3 LS, sponsored by Lussier Motorworks, Fuel Labs, and Drift the East. Everyone give it up for Eli Lussier. Hailing from our very own Erie, Pennsylvania, driving a 5.3-liter LS Nissan 240SX S14, sponsored by Pizza Boy Metalworks, Poor Richard Cuts, Bruno Creative Solutions, The Mad Lad, Solo Garage, and Team Vacation. Please give it up for Lake Erie Speedway's very own Ben Bruno. Hailing from Fremont, Ohio, driving a 7.0-liter 350Z, sponsored by Fab Mac Industries, Wilder Drift, and Race Treads. Driver number 69, give it up for Casey Rodriguez. From Gobles, Michigan, driving a Coyote Mustang, sponsored by Hometown Collision, driver number 207, Nick Johnson. From Toronto, Ontario, driving an Audi RS5 VR6, sponsored by TSH Auto, FCP Euro, Liquimolly, and D&D Performance. Car number 711. Give it up for Andriy Musienko. From Northeast Pennsylvania, driving an M50 Turbo BMW E46, sponsored by Landglide App, Report All, LGE Coachworks, and Team Dirty Work. Give it up for driver number 219, Colin Gillespie. From Carrollton, Ohio, driving an LS E36 BMW, driver number 36, Andrew Falk. From Waterford, Ontario, driving a 1993 Nissan 240SX 6.2-liter LS3, sponsored by RX Performance, Fab Mac Industries, True North Tire, BMS Tuning, and Clean Addicts. Give it up for driver number 77, Bradley Powell. From Toronto, Ontario, driving a Corvette Stroker LS3, sponsored by Fab Mac and FDF. Give it up for driver number 4, Andrew Shorkey. From Charlton, Michigan, driving a Coyote 197, driver number 143. Give it up for Jeff Clark. From Detroit, Michigan, driving a 2002 BMW E46 LS3, sponsored by 1110s Motorsports, Porter's Performance, and Brady's Bakery. Everyone, raise your hands. Give it up for Paul Robinson. Hailing from Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania, driving an N54 335i BMW, sponsored by Distinct Drift. Give it up for driver number 24, Steve DeVitis. His hometown is Low Banks, Ontario, driving an LS, supercharged LS E46, sponsored by Tint Addicts, Luke's Luxury Details, driver number 46. Put your hands together for Ryan Mucci. And there you have it, folks. Those are our top 32 of our leanest and meanest competitors here for round one.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will let these drivers go back to the pits, get set up and organized so we can get this top 32 underway. The sun is coming out, although the track is not dry. Hopefully moving forward, it will find its way through. On your screen there, you can see displayed our full bracket here of all of our drivers. Our first battle coming up is going to be Troy Manners and Chris Bosnock. That is going to be a challenge. That is a Miata versus a big power JZ S14. Can't wait to see how this turns out.
Boy, that would be the upset of the year, wouldn't it?
I agree. Given the wet track, the Miata does have the opportunity to make up for the lack of grip that the S14 will be making, but Troy being the defending champion, watching him in practice here between the seeding bracket and what is now going to be our top 32 competition bracket, his line, even in the wet, is absolutely infallible. He was doing a great job.
Left side, right side? Yes. Okay. Yeah. So is it Troy Manners against Chris, then Jacob against Josh? Yes. And then Mo, and then up here? Okay. And then here? Okay. So the winner of Troy and Chris, Jake and Josh will go against each other. Okay.
Giving some explanation here to how this bracket is laid out. Obviously, your first battle going to be Troy and Chris. Your second battle is going to be Jake and Josh. The winner of Troy and Chris and the winner of Jake and Josh will move on to each other. Moving down the left-hand side, that is going to be your top left of the bracket. The second row will be the bottom left of the bracket, so that is your whole left side. And then, obviously, same on the right is a mirrored image. You will have Andrew Shorkey and Ben Bruno, Andrei Musienko and Theon Nelson, and the winner of those two will go against each other, and so on and so forth as we move on. As you can see there on your screen, there's the website for the raceway, LakeErieSpeedway.com. Cannot thank enough the sponsors who have come out to support this series, everyone from Pro Waste Management to Formula Drift to everybody on the back wall. We have Safford, Afton, Rocket 105, Marquette Savings, Hallman Chevrolet, Pro Waste Management, Distinct Drift Tires is coming out. Now we have Link ECU is on the board as well as ECU Master. And then at the end of this, we are going to be giving away a Velocita driver's suit, which that is a huge value in and of itself. And I can't thank the Speedway itself for putting on such an event and for, raising the purses up, bringing all the drivers out to compete for what we have here today. And I think it's going to be a good night, Darren. The weather looks like it's clearing up a little bit. I see some blue skies. The sun's coming out, so.
Absolutely. And if you all head over to www.LakeErieSpeedway.com and you check out the upcoming schedule, boy, do we have some great events lined up. Just for recognition, after the Great Lakes Pro-Am Round 1 and 2, on June 14th is the All-Star Monster Trucks Tour. Who doesn't love monster trucks? Huge, big tires, loud engines, crushing cars. That's on June 14th and 15th. And then on July 5th, this is a new one that I haven't even heard of yet, is the American Big Rigs Racing. You can count me in for that.
The American Big Rigs Racing Series is exactly what you think it is. It is oval track racing in full-on semi-trucks outfitted to be sticky tires, big horsepower, the whole nine. And moving on throughout the summer, there will obviously be more Pro-Am competition here, with Round 2 being tomorrow, and then Round 3 going to happen on July 12th. Round 4 going to be on September 20th, and then mixed in there will be the Matt Siri events that I cannot stress enough. If you're somebody who's just maybe getting an interest into this but has not had the chance to experience it up close and personal, that is a great, great way to get your foot in the door, meet some drivers, see all the cars, possibly go for a ride along. I know the track in itself will rent you a helmet if you don't have one. If you don't have one as well, I know a lot of drivers actually have spares they might let you wear to go for a ride along with them. It's a very family-fun event. There's a lot of people here. Everyone is nice. I can't stress enough how much I appreciate the track and all the people who come out. And now a lot of these guys that are here today are guys that came up through driving the fun events here at Matt Siri and the surrounding drift organizations in the area, as well as now we have guys from Canada coming out, guys from Michigan, New York. It's a whole family event, man. It's really cool to be out here.
And, Zach, I'm not going to lie to you. That's exactly how I started. I used to come over here to the soft grip car shows over here behind the grandstands when they would have our Matt Siri events, 3-day-long events. And growing up in small towns, you know a lot of people that do this for a hobby and have fun out here with their friends. And I tell you what, as soon as I put that helmet on and went for my first ride-alongs, I was hooked. So if you guys have a friend that drives, be sure to put on an SA-rated safety helmet, sit in the passenger seat, buckle in, and go for one of the best fun rides of your life. That's one of the best tickets right there is to get into the sport. It all starts from ride-alongs. Again, if you guys are feeling a little famished, make sure you guys go over to the Rusty Wheel. They've been serving great meals all day long, man. I tell you, I got to hit that spot right after top 32. My belly's been grumbling all afternoon. I can't wait to get over there and get some of their food, man.
Yeah, coming to the Speedway is, I mean, it's truly our home away from home, and I cannot express in the way of track food how good the Rusty Wheels food is. It's become kind of a cult following here in the drift community that when you come here, you get a chicken and waffle sandwich for breakfast, regardless of last night's activities. That is irrelevant.
Again, I just want to express a very big thank you to our Lake Erie staff out there standing in the rain, in the miserable conditions, helping getting these cars off track when they're hurt. As you can see, one of our leaf blower staff members making sure that the track are at the utmost best conditions for these drivers to compete in this first round at the Great Lake Pro-Am Series. What just happened? Xander's flywheel went through the floor? Better than me. That is terrifying. Don't share that on the stream. Now we'll have to have SFI rated firewalls. Yeah. Trying to avoid that level of expense. What a clutch kick that was, huh? Yeah, right. Yeah, it's what you get for this 24-pound of base clutch kick from 2 RPM. Did you ever figure out what happened to There's no them tomorrow, it's Zach. There's no them tomorrow, it's just me. Just yeah, yeah. Okay. Next time tell him to put it on the unrented roof. Dude, it's always Henry. Dad jokes Dan. Flip the pinky. That's how we're living. Someone Venmo the Rusty Wheel and send them up to the booth.
On your screen there, shout out Travis Baum, best line painter in the East, baby.
Those shoes are impressive. I like those.
I do indeed like a bright pair of shoes.
You are
That is
wearing pink shoes
fantastic.
yourself.
I am wearing pink shoes. Yeah, you are right.
You can put on all the camo you want, Travis. You're not hiding from us. He's like, don't look at me. For those who know, he's being tracked like a sniper in the woods. Being tracked like a sniper in the woods. Our very own. Now they're playing bumper cars with the paint can. Just two boys out walking their dogs. Yeah, I hope they put the camera on them. You know, you had a little red wagon when you were a kid and you just push one and sit on it. Yeah, yeah. Brother. How's it been, Lake Erie Speedway? That's Spencer with him. Yeah, Spencer. Yeah, Spencer Jackson. Yeah. Second best line painter in the East. It was a tough call. Who's on the pitter? Brian? No, Brian's down here by the entry. The hoodie? Yeah, with the hoodie on. Who's on the red one? One of the Billings, maybe? No, he's not there. Who's on the red pitter? Couldn't tell you. Where's Scott Petty? What's Scott Petty? Has anyone seen Scott Petty?
And you can see your guys there trying to get the tires warmed up a little bit, even on a wet track. Get all the marbles and the rubber scrubbed off those fronts so they got as much grip as they can possibly have, as Troy Manners is going to lead the way here on the first battle for Chris Fosnock in the Miata. All right, we got the go-ahead to send cars. The lights are lit, and they are extinguished, and they have left the line. Troy Manners is going to lead the way. The Miata definitely going to be working for his paycheck today. Troy with a big fin initiation, nice and high on the bank, staying in that first outside zone, sponsored by Distinct Drift, blowing the bumper off on the wall. Coming now off of that into that first Pro Waste inner clip. Troy way wide, not quite getting in there. Good transition to that second inside zone. He makes his way into that final outside, and he is buried. 2 tires everywhere. The Miata pushing a little bit wide. Both cars going maybe 1 or 2 tires off the outside of that zone, but very good job from both of these guys here.
What a phenomenal lead by Troy there. As you can see here in this upcoming replay, Troy leaves the chicane, doesn't hit any cones, no problems there. Miata could have just started flying up into that first Distinct Drift outer zone 1. Troy enters a little shallow, then he gets up towards that wall and just drags that rear bumper all the way through the outer zone 1. Lets off, tries to hit that inner clip 1, misses it by a considerable amount, then transitions, goes through, hits inner clip 2, lands 2 tires perfectly into outer zone 2 and just stands on it and stays perfectly in that zone. You can see Chris struggling a little bit, taking out some cones. We're going to have to replace those here, but what a great, phenomenal lead by Troy there.
I will say this is going to be interesting, switching these 2 cars around and making Troy chase the Miata that we just saw is obviously considerably slower. Regardless, I think that Troy, being the defending champ, he's been in this position again. It's a real tough place to be as Chris, but I can't say enough about how good he is doing for having what I assume is maybe a 200-horse car versus Troy's, which, depending on the way it is tuned today, might be 5, might be 6. But either way, very exciting here. First, Troy giving you the absolute, essentially perfect way to enter them outside zones, because that was an issue earlier in the day, not quite making it to the second outside zone to finish off the lap, and Troy just nailed it perfectly there.
I give Chris nothing but absolute credit for getting that Miata out here, trying to see if it can hold its own, boxing outside of its weight class. I mean, here we go. He's going to be leading first, lights extinguished through the chicane, leading Troy Manners up to the Distinct Drift, outer zone 1. Pretty decent entry here from Chris, getting up towards that wall. Both tires in the outer zone 1, foot to the floor, screaming all 210 horsepower out of that thing. Wide on the Pro Waste inner clip 1, transitioning into inner clip 2 into outer zone 2. No tires in outer zone 2 in the first half. He then slides up past outer zone 2, maybe 2 tires off, but Troy was right there. He was probably being a little bit passive, obviously with his spotter in his ear telling him what type of chase that he should have ran there.
Yeah, give you a chance here. Take a look at the replay, get a little bit more in-depth view. As you can see, they're both leaving the line. Troy giving a little bit of a gap, maybe 2-3 cars. Good initiation here by Chris, staying nice and high on the wall. Very impressive for him to be able to keep 1-2 tires all the way through that zone. And you can see here coming off the bank, this is kind of a weird spot to be, especially if you're a lower power car, because you have to try and maintain that momentum while still getting in that inside zone. And you can see Chris there forgoes the inside zones, trying to get out to the second outside zone. And he eventually does get in, but it is late. He was very shallow for much of that zone, and then he does inevitably go 1 tire off there at the end.
You know, Zach, one thing that we haven't really talked about too much here is it's almost 7:30 at night here, and that sun is just starting to set. As you can see here, two of our judges here voted for Manners. So Manners will advance to the next round.
Yeah, Chris there just not doing quite enough to make his way past the defending champ, which absolutely no guff on him. That was a very good effort.
So before we were seeing those judges' scores there, what I was saying is as they're coming around outer zone 1, they're almost staring straight into the sun here. I wonder if that's going to play a role in some of their driving today.
We'll have to see how it plays out, but at least the sun is out, man. I'm happy to see that. And you can see here on your screen lined up now, we have Jake Schuster going to lead the way in front of Josh Leatherbarrow for your second battle of the night. Jake Schuster now with that small block Chevy with a carburetor on it, being chased by the much more modern LS swapped 135. And you can see they leave the line. Jake with the big weight transfer initiation, nice and high on the bank, keeps the tire in, finally gets the second one up there. Leatherbarrow cutting the line a little bit, running a mid to low line on the bank, trying to make up some ground. Jake misses that first inner clip by maybe just a couple of tires, completely forgoes the second, and he is getting into that final outside zone. Josh Leatherbarrow behind him trying to make up some ground, slowly closing in. Both of these guys, good job by Jake Schuster up front. That is, I know this is a new engine package for him. He got that car set up over the winter and just got some testing done, so good job.
Here on the replay, you can see Jake get up towards that first distinct drift outer zone 1. Josh struggling a little bit shallow, trying to keep proximity. Schuster just dips out of that outer zone 1 right at the late stage, just barely misses the Pro Waste inner clip 1, transitions, hits inner clip 2, tries to stretch it out to outer zone 2. Josh just trying to hammer down, keep the throttle pin, trying to keep as much proximity as he can all the way to the finish line.
There is something that I just from observation, this final outside zone is actually an opening radius. So you come into it, it's a little bit tighter, and as you go, it's going to open up around that apron to finish off your lap, and you're actually kind of moving almost onto the very bottom of the bank here on the back straight.
Lights are out, and Josh Leatherbarrow leading Jake Schuster into the distinct drift outer zone 1. Straight line initiation, tries to get that BMW. Jake Schuster in the wall, losing parts off the back of that BMW E36. Leatherbarrow a little shallow, missing Pro Waste inner clip 1. Transitions, trying to hit the inner clip 2. Stretching it out, trying to land both rear tires into outer zone 2. Coming up pretty shallow, finally getting some tires into that zone in the later stage of that zone. Slides up the bank a little bit, past the finish line. Wow, what a chase by Schuster there.
Yeah,
huh?
that was a valiant effort for sure by Jake Schuster. And I will explain it here in the replay a little bit further what he did right, because my goodness, the moment that you feel the back of that car touch a wall on a bank, it gets real hairy. And you can see what he does. The only thing you can do in this situation is to just keep it on the floor, stay in it, try to drive away from that wall, and Jake does exactly what he needs to do to keep that car safe. And you can see the transition now through that second inside zone. Leatherbarrow not quite getting down to where he needs to be, but Jake doing a very good job in chase, managing the line, matching the line of Josh in front of him. And I just can't say enough about that. Hitting the bank wall like that and maintaining, and there you go. Jake Schuster earned it. He's moving on, knocking out Josh Leatherbarrow here in the second battle of the night. What a scary moment there, and you can see the back of that car just mangled. So that was a pretty rough hit, and he did all the right things. Just stay in it and drive out of it, man.
Man, what a chase by Schuster. You know, just putting it next to that wall, yard sailing some of those parts up into the turn over there into outer zone 1. But good for him. A unanimous decision, moving on to the next round. How about that?
And that is the commitment you need to have on this layout, because to get up on that wall and stay there, you're going to have to throw the weight of the car up there and just mat it and hope that it all sticks and works out.
Next up on the line, we have Mo Aldemine and Blake Doge. Mo is going to be leading Blake into outer zone 1. Let's see how this one goes.
In Mo's car, I mean, he just got a new wrap on this, just got a new livery on it. It is so pretty. If you can get up to it in person while you're here, take a look at this car. The lights are off, and we are going to send them into turn 1. Mo Aldemine leading the way. Big weight transfer there from Mo in the front, nice and high on the bank, maybe one tire in that zone. Blake, kind of a bit of a failure to launch there, not quite getting his initiation. Mo running real wide coming off that bank, nowhere near that first inner clip. Good transition, though, as he's still a little bit wide, but it should set him up pretty good for this final outside zone as he gets 2 tires in. And he ends up going a little wide. The track obviously still pretty slick, so he's pushing a little bit wide there. I know that those aprons do get very slick when it's wet. So regardless, good job by both of these guys. Mo Aldemine with that initiation and staying up on the bank like that, especially knowing how much that he worked on that car and got it ready for this event. Absolutely fantastic job.
Yeah, looking at the replay, obviously you can tell that track conditions play a pivotal moment in how these runs are going to be going. It's starting to get patchy. It's starting to get a little bit dry up towards the top of the bank. All the water's sitting in the middle of the track. You can see here that Mo tried to push it towards the inner clip 2, trying to put some left foot brake into outer zone 2, just a little bit too much throttle, passing outer zone 2, you know, about 6 car lengths in front of Blake. But, I mean, the conditions are tough right now.
Yeah, and as the night continues and it starts to dry out, what ends up happening is as the cars all maintain kind of a similar line, you'll end up with a dry strip right where the cars are running. And if you end up going away from that, it's just an instant loss of all grip. And now we have Blake going to leave the line first, leading Mo into outside 1. Big weight transfer from Blake up front. Not quite getting out to that first zone, but he's working his way up the bank. Initiation on a mid-line, going real wide coming off, but making his way down to that inner clip. Not quite getting down into it, but very close. Now into that second inside clip, hitting it perfectly as Blake and getting both tires into that second outside zone. Once again, that little wet patch there coming into that zone, wreaking havoc on these guys. You carry so much speed through the inside of this track, and then you get into the outside zone and you just blow it wide. And unfortunate event there for Blake Doge in the lead.
Blake was just crab walking at the end of that zone there, just trying to get his car away from Mo's in any way, shape, or form, because he knew he was right there. You can't miss that aqua-colored S14 right next to you. When it's right there, you need to just stand on it. All right, looking at the replay here, obviously you can see that Blake had a couple car lengths ahead of Mo. Little bit too much sauce heading into outer zone 2. Sails up into the bottom part of the bank there. Mo's just standing on the brake, trying not to just door him with everything he has, trying to stay away from him. And you can see Blake just crab walking out of the zone there.
Yeah, you can see Blake's car there getting into that imminent point of there's so much angle in the car that it's no longer moving forward and it's just driving sideways. And that will be enough to give Mo Aldemine the win here. He will move forward over Blake Doge.
It gets to a point when you're at angle and you rotate that wheel around and it just stops. You know, you just have to stand on it at that point.
Getting confirmation here from the guys up in the booth. Joshua Dennis not able to get his car out on track for the event, so Tom is going to get a bye run here and make his way into top 16. So I will be quiet and let Tom Snyder let the LS sing while he takes his run here.
All right, there you see Tom Snyder just finishing up his bye run. Unfortunately, his competitor Josh Dennis made the long haul all the way from Fall River, Massachusetts. I mean, he was unable to get that K24 BMW 330i back together in the allotted amount of time to go ahead and put down a good competitive run. You know, Josh, big shout out. It's a heartbreak for those guys, especially all of his sponsors, Drift New England, ISC Suspension, Limiter Glove Co., Advanced Clutch Technology. Hopefully, maybe if he can, depending on what's wrong with Josh's car, he might be able to attend round 2 tomorrow. So let's hope for that.
And you can see there on your screen we have Dylan Weber warming up his tires here. He is also going to get a bye run because his competitor Xander Nappy had a catastrophic clutch failure, so he is not able to finish off the weekend. This car, freshly supercharged for this year. This is his first year driving with a power adder, and Dylan is an absolute animal behind the wheel of this car. Yeah, very good job there by Dylan Weber. A little maybe straightened through the middle there, but it worked out well to get him out to that second outside zone. Absolutely textbook line all the way through the end of that run. All right, you can see that on your screen. Your winners highlighted in yellow. Troy Manners, Jake Schuster, Mo Alderman, Tom Snyder, and Dylan Weber. Coming up next, coming out on the track right now, we have Alan Boss, a pro spec driver who comes out here to run these events because it's fun, it's his home, he's sponsored by the track, and we love to have him. And then his competitor going to be Paul Robinson in LS swapped E46, also a very, very good driver.
All right, Brian's checking in on the drivers, making sure they're good to go. The start light is out. Alan Boss leading through the chicane. Paul Robinson right behind him, giving him about a half a car of lead here. Alan Boss initiates in the wall, grabbing the wall with the rear of his car, just dragging that quarter panel across an outer zone 1. Paul falling off in the chase. Alan Boss hitting that Waste Pro inner clip 1. Slow transition into inner clip 2, carrying that momentum into both tires into outer zone 2. Just kind of feathering the throttle, all of the angle, slowing down a little bit, carrying all that momentum into outer zone 2 across the line.
And you can see there a little bit of this, what we were talking about, the track getting patchy. Alan Boss making smoke coming off the bank, and then it all goes away until the very end of outside zone number 2. A little bit of it comes back. So these guys definitely going to have to work to find some grip here. And you can see on your replay, Alan Boss just no cares, blowing the back bumper off on that wall. And you can see the smoke coming from the back of that car. Robinson behind him struggling a little bit with that bank. And you can see the transition now through the middle. Alan puts 2 tires deep into that zone, sitting on that line, and just all the angle to try and keep that car from blowing the back of that bank out. And you can see right there at the very end just a wisp of smoke. So there is getting dry patches on the track, which means you're going to have a whole bunch of grip and then no grip, and it's definitely going to be a struggle for these guys. All right, and Paul Robinson now going to lead the way for Alan Boss. This is a crazy battle between cars. You have essentially a stock LS and then a big power supercharged pro car. Paul Robinson doing a great job in the lead, maintaining the line on that bank. Now as they come off a little bit wide on that first inner clip, not quite getting down into it. Very good transition, though, to that second inside clip. Paul working his way out to that second outside zone. does a very good job maintaining maybe a one tire off the back of that zone. Very good job by both guys. They shut it down here and they finish the run.
What a good chase by Allen. Obviously, he put down a great lead. He was up towards the outer zone 1 in the wall, dragging his bumper on the wall. With the replay coming up, you can obviously see when Paul is driving through the chicane, it was almost a drag race to outer zone 1, sponsored by Distinct Drift. Paul initiates, straight line initiation, kind of a little shallow. Then he decides to end up getting a little bit closer to the wall towards the end of the zone. As you can tell, smoke coming off the back of the car, track's starting to dry up. Allen up with about a 1.5 car, deficit as far as proximity. Paul ended up getting a little late into outer zone 2, decided to, try and feather the throttle a little bit, carried his momentum, stayed in the zone. Allen stayed about 2 cars behind. It was a pretty solid run there. Let's see what the judges think.
And I would have to assume that, obviously, Alan Boss, there you go. You have a unanimous decision is going to take the win over Paul Robinson here. And with that first half of the battle being the way that it came down to, and that first zone being essentially a 0 from Paul there in the chase, I would have to assume that his spotter is going to get in his ear and tell him, hey, don't push too hard. You have an advantage. Stay close, but not too close. You're not going to win the event in top 32. So you can see Paul there doing a little burnout. Good send-off to get himself off the track. And coming out on the track now to warm up their tires, you're going to have Henry Donahue and Brendan Fraley. Fraley in what I believe is a stock 370Z from looking at it today at Tech, and Henry Donahue in the complete opposite of a stock E46. So yet another very interesting battle here. And this is kind of the beauty of what Pro-Am gives you is as you move up through the echelons of competition and drifting, you get to a point where all the cars become not similar, but more and more competitive until you kind of get to the peak, the top of the pyramid, if you will, where all the cars are so competitive that the difference between the best car on the day and the worst car on the day is slim to none.
Right, these track conditions could level this playing field pretty decently. As we see here, Henry going to be leading Brendan through this first half of the battle. Start lights are up, and they're out. Henry leading, stands on the throttle through the chicane, leading Brendan in that stock 370Z. Straight line initiation for Henry. Shallow at first, driving down the bank, not getting both of his tires up in that outer zone 1, carrying that momentum shallow into inner clip 1, right through there. Transitions, hitting inner clip 2, stretching his momentum out to outer zone 2. 2 tires sailing a little past the zone there, going up the track. But look at Brendan right next to him, right where you need it to be, right when it counts, right at the end of the run there.
Yeah, and once again, this is, an LS swapped E46. We all know that the E46 is a very good chassis. It makes a whole bunch of grip. The 370Z I would call comparable, but being a stock car, you are simply at a deficit. And I think Brendan did a fantastic job there in the chase maintaining that line. You can see it here on the replay. Henry Donahue, kind of a straight line initiation, maybe like a high-mid line there on the bank. Fraley behind him doing a really good job keeping that car at angle and just trying to keep up. Both of them making it through that first inner clip, getting into that now wet center where it's going to be coming back onto dry now here in this other lower bank. And Fraley cuts the line a little bit to make up proximity, but Henry, I would also say in that second outside zone, 2, maybe even 3 tires out of the back of that zone. So very interesting decision here by the judges. I want to see what they come up with. It's a good battle. I like what's going on. I would want to see Fraley lead. And here they go. They've left the line. Fraley up front. See if he can get that car a little bit higher on the bank here in the lead. And he does, keeping 1 tire in the zone, but can he keep it at angle, doing a great job in the lead. Whole bunch of angle coming down. A little bit of an over-rotation there. Big correction by Fraley in the lead. Henry does a great job of avoiding a collision there as they reinitiate now to come into this final outside zone. Fraley maybe a little bit wide, blows the bumper off, ends up spinning out. That's never what you want to see.
Just good on our drivers to have that driver awareness and that crash avoidance to know when the car is over-rotating in front of you to not wad their cars up,
Yeah, that's really kind of one of those moments where you either make a very good decision or the wrong decision. So good on Henry Donahue there avoiding that collision.
Looking at the replay, we'll show you some of this driving skill here. Obviously, little bit of a car deficit here between Henry and Brendan. Coming out of the outer zone 1, Lot of angle being put on by Brendan. Real big check up there. Henry had to lay on the brakes to avoid hitting him. They reinitiate. Henry had to straighten a little bit. A big clutch kick here. Get it back to angle. Shallow in outer zone 2. Trying to feather the throttle. Blows the back bumper off with a road cone, and unfortunately that's what wrapped his car around, you know. But good job on Henry for not pile driving into the side of that car. Good awareness.
Yeah, and I have to assume that now that the bank is kind of drying up, that's the highest speed part of the track. It's where you have the most wheel speed. That's where you're going to be doing the most effort for getting the water off the track. And now coming off of that bank into the center is definitely going to be a really slick spot. And here we are going to get to see it again. One more time, the judges have decided that the mistakes on the parts of both drivers are enough to warrant them trying it again, maybe clean it up, give us a better battle, something a little bit easier to judge, I guess. And you can see there on the line, you're going to have Steve DeVittis in that E90 leading the way for Dirk Stratton in that big power LS7 C6 vet. Yeah, both of these guys, very, very talented drivers. Dirk Stratton, obviously, his name's been around for quite some time. He's always been competitive and bringing the vet out. And the lights go out, and they have left the line here. Steve DeVittis going to lead the way. Steve DeVittis, no slouch in his own right. He is a very good driver, and you can see that initiation getting nice and high on the bank, making Dirk work for the pay today. Steve DeVittis falls a little bit low, has to make a little bit of a correction there to not get pulled down that bank as they come down to this very wet middle of the track through the inside clips. Steve gets both tires into that second outside zone, holding a tire right on that outside line, right where it needs to be. Dirk leaving maybe a 2-3 car gap. There's a lot on the table here for Steve. This could be a very interesting battle here moving forward.
Yeah, and you don't really want to be overly aggressive as a chase driver right in the top 32 battle, the first battle of the top 32 for you. So I completely understand if Dirk isn't trying to just, you know, put a whole mess of markings on the side of that door here. In the replay, Steve with a big initiation up into outer zone 1, puts it up towards the wall, ends up having to have maybe too much grip, drives out of it, lower in the zone in outer zone 1, hitting that Pro Waste inner clip 1 just outside of it, transitions, goes into inner clip 2, sailing it into outer zone 2. Big old fireball comes out of the back of this Corvette here, and it was a pretty good lead. Let's see if Dirk can do here as a leader.
Yeah, so often in drifting, this like you said, this is only top 32. These guys are going to have to drive multiple times, and this will turn into what is essentially a battle of attrition, where you're going from it's just me versus one other guy to now it's me versus my car and one other guy, because drifting is such a mechanically abusive sport. It's hard to even put it into words how much damage you can do to these cars as quickly as you can do it.
And lights are out, and here comes Dirk leading through the chicane, leading Steve DeVittis in that E90. Flying up to outer zone 1, sponsored by Distinct Drift. Big ol' initiation. Standing on the throttle, just shallow out of outside zone 1. Bunch of smoke coming from that Corvette. Hits the inner clip 1. Big transition, heading towards inner clip 2. Big fireball out of the back of the Corvette here, standing on the throttle, trying to get it out to outer zone 2. Little shallow in the front part, but lands both of those rear tires in the outer zone 2. Big fireball came out of the Corvette again to cross the finish line.
I mean, fantastic job by Steve in the chase there. Getting real nice and tidy up close to Dirk there in the second half of that run. And you can see here on the replay, Dirk leading the way. Steve DeVittis going to chase. Big initiation there from Dirk, but he doesn't really get out to that first zone. He might have one tire in it, but he's a little bit shallow. And you can see Steve there struggling to keep angle in the car as they make their way around that first big sweeper. I would say that's the first battle we've seen that hits that first inner clip just perfectly. And as they make their way into the second outside zone, both cars getting in a little bit late, but Steve making up all kinds of ground, less than a car between the two as they finish out the run. And I mean, that's a fantastic job by Steve DeVittis there, especially like on a dry to wet kind of patchy track to be able to chase like that.
It's tricky out there. Can't wait to see what the judges think. Ooh, they brought up the side-by-side. This is going to be a tough call, Zach.
All right, let's try to see what the judges are looking at here. And you can see Dirk pulling a bunch of gap out on Steve there to get into his initiation, but Never doesn't really get quite up into that zone, but Steve kind of has the same issue in his lead as well. And then you can see the chases here. I would say that Steve's coming through those inside clips was a little bit cleaner even. And then you can see here the proximity difference between the two is, I mean, 5, 6 cars to less than a car there for Davidis in the chase. But, I mean, to put down a good chase, you have to have a really good lead. So we'll see how the judges weigh it either way.
Man, I'm just sitting here just thinking, just running that back in my head. Like, that Corvette sounds so good standing on the throttle in those.
Yeah, if you're not here in person, Dirk Stratton coming through inside 1 to inside 2 and into outside 2, when he downshifts and stands on it and that thing bounces on limiter, it is shaking the glass up here in the booth. It is insane.
I mean, even like the back pressure and the flame coming out of the exhaust. I'm surprised Steve doesn't have a burn or sunburn from it.
Yeah, I can only imagine how that sounds if you're the car chasing, especially Steve there. I mean, you're less than a car away from the back of that thing, and it is just fireballs. Brutal. It sounds like bombs going off, people. It's crazy.
If I were behind that car and it backfired in front of me like that, I would think my car broke, for sure. Immediately stop drifting because something is broken. Look at that, Zach. You can see the Oracle lighting on the side of Dirk's car just starting to peek through a little bit. That was bright white earlier. Now it's just starting to render a light blue hue. I can't wait till when the lights come on and you can see that thing glowing from up here.
Oh, and you can see it there. We are going to send these guys one more time. 2 out of 3 judges going to say send them again. We want to see what they can do. Give them an opportunity to clean it up. Maybe the track will be a little bit drier by then. Everyone has grip. It's going to be something to see.
Now at the line is Casey Rodriguez leading Travis Holbrook, both in 350Zs. Let's see what Casey can do as far as giving Travis a pretty solid lead run. We've seen Casey drive here tons of times, so I don't think Casey's nearly afraid of this outer zone wall. Let's see. Leading Travis Holbrook, got a good 3-car gap in between them. Straight line initiation, a little shallow into outer zone 1. Travis Holbrook in the wall. Casey ending outer zone 1 into the Pro Waste inner clip 1, transitions into inner clip 2. Left foot braking into outer zone 2, both tires in the zone, feathering that throttle, just kind of left foot braking all the way to the end of the outer zone 2. That was a great lead run by Casey, but unfortunately, bad luck for Travis Holbrook. He is slowly creeping by the wall out in outer zone 1. Just off the camera shot, looks like he might have gripped up and drove straight into the outer zone wall. Let's look at the replay, Zach.
Yeah, he kind of had one of these moments where he went to initiate and the car didn't snap to angle, so then you turn into this weird kind of situation of understeer, and you can see there the brakes lock up, and at that point there's really nothing you can do. Really unfortunate. I know that the guys up here were talking and said that Travis, this is his first event in that car, so relatively untested setup, maybe caught him off guard, and you hate to see it like go out like that.
Nobody likes to see wrecked drift cars at all. You know, it's just, as you can see right there, he just straight understeered. You know, I don't know if it was an initiation or it didn't engage when he clutch kicked or if the e-brake didn't work, but I mean, he stood on the brake. He tried to avoid it at all costs, but unfortunately paid the ultimate price by sailing it in there like that.
Yeah, and I know obviously you kind of want to focus on the hurt car, but I can't say enough about Casey Rodriguez's lead run there was about as textbook as you're going to get it here with these situations and the way that the track is. And really unfortunate. We're going to let the guys here get Travis's car figured out, see if they can get him towed off. Casey already back to the line, obviously ready to do business.
Yep, look like a big thank you to our Lake Erie Speedway staff and our fire and safety crew, making sure these drivers were okay after unfortunate incidences like this. You have clearly a safety team member talking to Travis, making sure he's good, making sure he's okay, backing up the tow truck, trying to get him hooked up and get him off the track. I would assume maybe, depending on the damage, he might take his 5-minute timeout here just to try and look over the damage, see if it can be repaired. It might need a control arm, maybe a new front wheel, who knows.
I mean, at this point, you almost have to take it because what's your other option? You're in top 32 now. Losing this battle means you're done for the night. So I'm assuming he's probably going to take his competition timeout, at least get some hands on the car, look at it. Maybe he can fix it. Maybe he can't. Hopefully it's something easy. I know that the angle that he hit, I would say more than likely probably like a tie rod, maybe a control arm. Hopefully he can get those switched out and come back tomorrow. But, I wish the best for him. I hope he gets his car sorted out. And you hate to see someone wreck. Because like I said earlier, most of these cars are – they're built and assembled specifically for this. And these guys are like, this is kind of a hobby, and they want to move it forward into like a competitive space, and that's essentially what Pro-Am gives you the chance to do. And just really unfortunate. Let the staff guys here get them hooked up and get them pulled off, and hopefully we see them tomorrow or later tonight, maybe even. Who knows?
Let's hope. I hope he can get that thing sorted out. I mean, Travis is a pretty good driver, so obviously something had happened to where he understeered straight like that. I don't know if it was a mechanical or a driver error, but I'm just glad he's all right. Hopefully he can get it figured out.
Yeah, that's one of those things. Like I said, he bought the car. I'm assuming like this week, so relatively untested. Maybe took it up and down the road a couple of times in a private space, and yeah, it's just some things happen, and if you don't deal with them the right way when they do happen, you end up hitting a wall. So.
www.lakeeriespeedway.com and look at some of our upcoming events. We do have round 2 tomorrow. Hopefully it's going to be, based off of the weather, it looks like it's going to be a lot better weather conditions in round 2. Based off of the layout that we saw, it looks like it's going to be a lot smaller, a lot more technical. I'm pretty excited about that.
And that is Lake Erie Speedway on all social media. Anywhere you want to find us, we are there. There is a website, obviously. You can see it there on your screen. That will give you all your upcoming events, and that is Facebook. We are on YouTube, currently live streaming.
About a car and a half away into inner clip 1, transferring into inner clip 2, left foot braking into outer zone 2. Brendan, right where he needs to be, a little bit shallow, ends up looping it behind Henry. Henry staying in the zone, carrying that momentum past the line.
All right, we will re-rack him here, give Brendan a chance to answer back to Henry Donahue. All right, they have given the thumbs up. The lights are lit and they are extinguished. Brendan going to lead the way here into outside zone number 1. Straight line initiation from both drivers. Brendan nice and high on the bank, not quite getting into that zone. You can see they're maybe not quite maintaining angle, not quite in drift around that first zone as they come now across the flat bottom of the middle of the track through these inner clips into the final outside zone. Brendan not getting into it until almost the middle, but Henry leaving a good bit of space as Brendan loops it again in nearly the exact same spot. Maybe there's a wet patch there that he's not just quite managing well or something, but, you know, you hate to see it, something like that.
Again, good job on Henry in the chase for noticing that Brendan was over-rotating way too much angle in that last part of the outer zone too. Standing on the brakes, standing on the clutch, doing everything he can to avoid hitting him. So good job on Henry. As we look at the replay here, you can see both of them e-brake initiation. Brendan is a lot lower on the bank than Henry was, sailing that momentum into inner clip 1, misses it by the outside. Henry fulfills inner clip 1. They transition outside of inner clip 2. Brendan shallow in outer zone 2, ends up getting both of his rear tires past outer zone 2, and then just loops it in front of Henry. So again, good job on Henry for noticing that. As an experienced driver as Henry is, I know he has a ton of time in that car, a lot of laps in that car. So good for him to notice that and you know, avoid that spin in front of him.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that we have clinic days here once in a while where, you know, get an opinion here from one of the judges about how we're going to go one more time here for Brendan and Henry Donahue.
Yeah, so Henry Donahue was 3 tires off coming out of outer zone 1 before inner clip 1. So Brendan's spin in outer 2, the run was technically over already at that point. And then on Brendan's lead, obviously he spun out and zeroed. So 2 zeros in the lead. We're going to see it one more time here.
So there you go. That's going to be both drivers in their leads technically zeroing, which means that the chase driver never got the opportunity to actually do a lap the way that they're intended to do. So we will just reset them, give them a chance to clean it up, and send them out again. As you can see now on screen, Casey Rodriguez putting on a clinic for what your lead run needs to be here tonight and doing an absolutely amazing job. It is confirmed Travis Holbrook will not be returning tonight. His car is unfixable in the time given. So there you go. Casey Rodriguez will be moving forward over Travis Holbrook.
Good job for Casey in showing us how a good lead run is supposed to look. Unfortunate circumstances here for Travis. I'm really hoping that he can put all those parts back together, get that car ready for round 2 tomorrow.
But as I was saying prior to all of this and the one more time in the explanation, we do clinic days here, which are a really good way if you just build a car and just put something together. You can come out and you can kind of hang out with the staff who are all experienced drivers and kind of get the tips and tricks of how everything works. And that is one of the things that when you start driving in tandem with other cars, accident avoidance is your number 1 goal, because the last thing you want to be is people are going to spin out, people are going to make mistakes, and it's your job as the person behind them to not allow that contact to happen. And just fantastic job there from Henry Donahue, not once but twice. I would even say almost 3 times there. Just all right, on the line here, you have Andrew Falk in his LS-powered E36. It is confirmed he will get a bye run this evening. So nice, easy trip here into top 16. It looks like Christoph not able to make it to the line, which is unfortunate because his car is so good, and he's an amazing driver, very nice guy. But, you know, Andrew Falk, I could say all the same things, and I'm just happy to see him succeed. You can see there Andrew kicking it into the first turn, playing it nice and safe, staying on that midline. No reason to push it up to the bank when you're the only guy on track. So let him finish out his run here as he goes through the inner clips. He's struggling maybe a little bit, dealing with some of maybe that wet and dry there coming through the center. And there you have it. Andrew Falk finishing off his bye run, going to be moving on here into top 16. So congratulations to him. Unfortunate for Christoph to not be able to make it to the line.
I do know that Christoph had a little bit of an unfortunate series of events. As earlier during practice, he had to get towed off by the rear of his car. As I was driving around on the scooter around past where he was getting towed, it looked like all 5 of his wheel studs were sheared right off. So I wonder if that has to have any reason why he wasn't able to make some of these runs tonight.
Yeah, I saw him out there earlier, and I kind of wonder if that was the issue. It seems like it wouldn't be a common thing to break wheel studs in a car. It's almost something you'd never see driving down the road or any other place. But with drifting, when it comes to the amount of sheer force and torque that you're putting on those to hold your wheels on, and as you get into this now competitive space, you're adding more and more grip to the car, and you're just making that initial torque shock on your lug studs gets higher and higher until eventually they just can't take it. And it's one of those things that you don't really ever look at. So maybe there's a couple of cracks in them or something, and just really unfortunate for Christoph. Really excited to see him drive.
Got a solid one more time event here right now. Dirk Stratton going ahead and warming up those tires for this chase run behind Steve DeVittis in that, what is it, E90? E90, yeah. I'm excited for this. I love hearing that Corvette just standing on the throttle on outer zone 1. I'm excited for this run, Zach.
All right, you can see Brian there giving the drivers the thumbs up, starting the lights up for him. The lights are out, and they have left the line. You can hear Steven DeVittis, all the boost in that car tonight. Big flick initiation into the bank. Maybe one tire up, pulls a little bit of angle, makes a small correction. Dirk right behind him, maybe 2 cars between the two as they come through that first inner clip. Now transitioning into inner clip 2 and outer zone 2. Very good job by Steve in the lead. Dirk making up the ground that he needs to, maybe a 1 to 2 car gap, opening up a little bit there towards the end. As you see fire shooting out of the back of that vet. And Steve maybe shutting it down a little bit early there after the end. Dirk almost getting into the back of him after the end of the run. So very good job by both of these guys here as you take a look at the replay.
Yeah, looking at the playback here, obviously Steve in the lead through the chicane. Wild entry, big weight transfer up into outer zone 1. Maybe 1 tire up into the zone. Dirk just kind of hanging back, maybe two cars, car and a half behind him. Barely touching that inner clip 1, transferring through the middle of the track, hitting inner clip 2, left foot braking into outer zone 2. Big fireball out of the Corvette. Sails it a little bit past outer zone 2, maybe 1 wheel off by Steve DeVittis, and just Dirk just trying to play catch up and stands on it. A little bit quick there, a little quick of a shutdown. But we're looking here, maybe Steve might be calling a 5-minute timeout.
It is confirmed. Steve DeVittis is going to take his 5. Dirk Stratton going to go back to the pits and hang out for a minute, wait for Steve to figure out what's going on with his car. And then we will get back to the second half of that battle. All right, and coming back out on track, we have Henry Donahue and Brendan Fraley for their one more time battle. It looks like Henry is going to lead the way into turn 1 for Brendan Fraley.
Brian Riker pointing at the drivers, making sure they're good to go. Our lights are out. Henry Donahue leading through the chicane. About a car length in front of Brendan. Both straight line approach, e-brake grab. Henry Donahue driving down the racetrack, nowhere near outer zone 1. He's a little low. 1 tire off, going through outer zone 1, transitioning into inner clip 2. Left foot braking to try and hold his angle into outer zone 2. Brendan Fraley left foot braking, trying to maintain that proximity. Henry seemed to be a little bit more of a struggle on that run than his first 2 runs.
Yeah, and it may be kind of hard to see if we can get a good angle on it here in the replay, but that line to designate where the metaphorical track is here in this first outside zone, Henry was well below the line, so that is the same issue that the judges cited in the last battle. And you can kind of see it there. I know you can see a little bit better here coming out of that. You can see at least 2, if not 3 tires off on the inside of the racetrack. So, and you can see here coming into that final outside zone, Brendan Fraley makes up a whole bunch of ground, and then you can see him almost kind of trying to hold the car back so that he's not driving into the side of Donahue as he has to straighten there at the end of the run. All right, we're going to switch them around. The lights are on. Fraley now going to lead the way in that 370Z for Henry Donahue. Fraley getting maybe a 1 to 2 car gap there coming into his initiation. He initiates mid-line on the bank, but it's pulling him down a little bit as he makes his way now down off the bank through that first Pro Waste inner clip. Great job hitting that first clip and makes his way to the second. See if he can keep it in the zone this time. You can see the wavering there from Fraley. That final outside zone just wreaking havoc for him tonight, but he doesn't loop it. So that will be a judgeable run there from Brendan Fraley in the lead.
Yeah, looking at the replay here, it seems like, I don't know if it's track conditions, but that first distinct drift, outer zone 1, is wreaking havoc on some of these drivers. It's tough to get up towards that wall, and it is intimidating. You see them both straight line approach. Brendan in the lead, about a 2-car gap. Just below that outer zone 1, maybe half a car length out. He nails that inner clip 1, sponsored by Pro Waste. Transitions and hits inner clip 2, left foot braking, trying to stay in that outer zone 2, sails it up the track a little bit, maybe 1 or 2 tires off, and tries to finish out the run maybe about 2.5 car lengths in front of Henry.
And there you can see all 3 judges unanimously deciding that Brendan Fraley will be moving forward over Henry Donahue. Yeah, so getting confirmation up here from the judges, that will be the same penalty against Donahue as the first run, and that is he was inside of the bottom of what would be the racetrack there on that first outside zone, which the way you kind of have to think about it is where the lines are drawn on track. Imagine the white line is a wall. So if you were 1 tire over the line, you might be okay because you would just have the corner of the car pushed against the wall, whereas if you are 4 tires, you have well beyond, I would call it a yard sale is my metaphor.
Absolutely. Rolling to the line in the Mustang is Jeff Clark, lining up next to the LS-powered Nissan 240SX, powered by Adam Bergner. Adam will be leading. Jeff will be chasing.
All right, and you can see Brian here going to give the drivers a thumbs up, get the head nod. Everyone's good to go. The lights are on, and they are out, and they have left the line. Adam Bergener going to lead the way here. You can hear him just rowing through the gears. Big clutch kick to get up on that bank. Maybe getting a tire into that zone, but he's a little bit shallow as he comes now into this first inner clip. Maybe just 1 tire wide. As you can see, Clark behind him over-rotating as he comes down into that center of the track. Bergener going to finish off the lap, trying to get out to that second outside zone. 2 tires in, he keeps it around.
Not a bad lead run by Adam. He could be a little bit deeper into outer zone 1, up closer towards that wall. Unfortunately for Jeff Clark, he did have an over-rotation just outside of outer zone 1. Looking at the replay here, lights go out. Adam stands on it through the chicane. Maybe about a car and a half lead in front of Jeff. Straight line initiation just below that outer zone 1. Big gap in between the lead and the chase car. Missed outside or inner clip 1, transitions, hits inner clip 2, trying to let off the gas, trying to keep it in that outer zone 2, just feathering the throttle. He finally lands both of those rear wheels in that outer zone 2 towards the end of the zone there.
Yeah, and he does kind of, like I said, this is an expanding radius there for that final outside, so he does end up pulling 2 tires actually under the zone to finish off the run, but ultimately it doesn't matter because Clark behind him obviously had that over-rotation. And you can see now Clark going to leave the line, leading the way for Adam Bergener. See if Clark can clean it up here for his lead. You see big clutch kick, straight line initiation, mid-line on the bank, not quite getting out to that zone. And you can see kind of that same thing that Henry Donahue was penalized for, of being underneath the entire racetrack. And you can hear it absolutely standing on it, trying to get out to that second outside zone, as Bergener actually drops a tire to the inside of the track as well, trying to cut the line and make up some space. And Clark finishes with 2 tires outside of the back of the zone. And I got to say, all through the run there's a lot of tidying to be due. As you move forward through this bracket, that's not going to cut it.
No, and again, I really do think it's these track conditions that are playing a pivotal point in this. I mean, you can see it on the bank. It's patchy. The straight line approaches don't seem to be wavering too well with these drivers. A lot of the weight transfer initiations that we're seeing are keeping that momentum up towards the wall. As you can see here, Jeff Clark was already at a deficit from his chase run with that over rotation, trying to give Adam the best lead run that he can. He kind of sails it up the track in outer zone 2. Adam just trying to keep that proximity where he can. But, man, it's up to the judges. It's in the judges' hands at this point.
Yeah, and it cannot be overstated enough how much a patchy racetrack, especially one like Lake Erie Speedway, where you're going from what is a concrete surface onto an asphalt surface, or pavement surface onto an asphalt surface, they're going to dry at different rates. The temperatures are going to be different from one surface to the next, and ultimately asphalt is just plain out a lot more slick whenever it is wet.
Still waiting to hear from the judges on this one. It's definitely going to be a tight call. That's why we have both these runs up simultaneously next to each other. You'll see runs 1 and 2. They might have a decision as we speak. Lake Erie Speedway's very own Matt Moncalian standing out there patiently to wait to point to the winning driver, if there is one.
And while we wait here, just want to give a huge shout out to the sponsors of the racetrack. For the Great Lakes ProAm Series, we have Distinct Drift, we have Pro Waste Management. Obviously, all the banners along the outside of the track. Lake Erie Speedway has all the support that you could possibly ask for, and to be able to do this for these guys is absolutely fantastic, and to give them a chance. And obviously, this being a series where you can compete and you can win a pro license, gets you kind of your foot into the door to move forward in what could be a career. I mean, depending on how you manage it and how you do it. And we actually have a couple of those guys on the property tonight, with Dirk Stratton, who's done it in the past, and Alan Boss, who's currently doing it right now. And it's a wild thing. You have kind of every walk of life here. You have everything from, I just want to try competing, all the way through I am currently competing in the highest echelon of this sport. And you can see there on your screen, I do believe we're going to try to get a side-by-side replay. We're having a little bit of technical difficulty here, and it happens. All right, and there you have it. You have a split decision with one judge going to Jeff, one judge going to Adam Bergener, and then we are going to have a one more time for that third vote. So does that mean they'll be going again? All right, so we are going to send these guys again, give them an opportunity on both sides of the board to I guess, just clean it up. I mean, ultimately, what you need to do is you need to give the judges either a definitive yes or no, or at least be so close that they can't pick one. What you never really want to see is a one more time that comes from mistakes. But ultimately, if that's what the judges feel, then we're going to send them again, give them a chance to clean it up, put on a show. So, I mean, worst case scenario, you get to see more drifting. Oh, no.
Right, and at the line right now is Eric Kananowitz, getting chased by Ryan Mucci. Eric has been throwing down in practice, just standing on the gas pedal on that Mustang. Missed shifts, try to initiate and get it up towards outer zone 1. He was doing way deeper initiations into outer zone 1 in practice. A little wide on inner clip 1, transitions into the Pro Waste inner clip 2, left foot brake and losing car parts, trying to get both tires into that outer zone 2, feathering the throttle, carrying that momentum through outer zone 2, standing on it at the end of his run. Ryan had a little bit of hiccup there in his chase there.
Yeah, I have to assume that Kananowicz on his initiation there maybe missed a gear, it wouldn't go into gear. Something had to have happened because the way he was driving in practice, that's not even close to what he was doing. He was the highest guy on the bank all the way through. And you can see here again kind of that straight line, but he was trying to do a weight transfer, but the car just didn't have the forward momentum to actually throw the weight of the car into that turn. And you can see Ryan there behind him falling behind a little bit, but with that run up to initiation, it's kind of hard to even really blame Ryan because if you're pulling really hard and you're trying to drag race your way into that first corner and the guy in front of you is kind of lagging here and there, it's getting kind of spotty, then, who really knows?
Yeah, Eric did have just a few misshifts in practice, so maybe, I don't know if it's a new transmission that he's fighting or whatnot, but it seems to be, his cross to bear tonight.
And I do know from seeing that car come through tech, just about every part of it has been completely redone from the last time that I saw it personally, and being at every single one of these events, I get to see all the cars every single time. So fresh build coming out. Eric Kananowicz is a fantastic driver. It's just really unfortunate that he maybe missed a gear. It wouldn't go into gear, which is even scarier because then only what's going wrong, I guess. All right, and you can see the guys down here on the line are having some conversations with the drivers, maybe trying to figure out if they want to take their 5 minute or if they want to just send it or what they want to do. So, and it looks like they're going to be pushing them here off the line, maybe give Eric a chance to maybe look at that car.
Want to extend another big shout out here to our flagman here to let us know if there is a hit cone on our initiation. Big Sean Callahan down there doing a phenomenal job. Great red flag down there.
And getting confirmation from the guys up here, Mucci actually debeated a tire, so that is why he is currently pulling off the track. And that will mark the end then for Mucci. He's not allowed to rebeat that tire, so that will be it. You can hear Kananowicz again struggling to get that car to go into gear. I hope he gets that sorted out because as a chase driver, that would be very scary coming into that first turn to not know whether the guy in front of you is going to be able to be fully committed or whether his car will allow him to be fully committed to that initiation.
Man, that thing sounds good, doesn't it?
Yeah, and Eric Kananowicz will have some time here to get that sorted out because he is moving forward by default there. So he will be coming back out, and hopefully he gets that transmission, the shifting, maybe the clutch sorted out before he comes back out again. All right, and you can see the guys here warming up their tires. It is going to be the one more time of Dirk Stratton and Steve DeVittis. And this will be the second half as DeVittis had to call his competition timeout. All right, the lights are off, and they're going to leave the line here. Dirk Stratton going to lead the way. Big initiation here from Dirk, getting way up on that bank, keeping a tire in the zone all the way around. Smoke rolling off the back of that vet now. It's definitely not wet up there. And you can see perfect coming through that first inside zone. Steve nosing in there, coming through the second inside clip as they make their way to the final outside zone. DeVitis with less than a car between the two. Dirk Stratton doing a great job in lead, especially given the circumstances and the way the track is looking right now. Fantastic job by both of these guys.
Great lead means great chase. What a chase by Steve there. That was probably the best chase that we've seen so far tonight. What a phenomenal chase from Steve.
Yeah, that was on both ends of the spectrum. Dirk from that initiation way up on the bank, keeping a tire in that zone all the way around, coming off the bank on the perfect line to hit that first Pro Waste inner clip to make his way to the second to the outside zone. Fantastic job giving Steve the opportunity here, and you can see it in the replay, to just put that E90 right where it needs to be, get as close to the side of that vet as he possibly can. Cannot say enough. This is definitely the closest, I would say, lead and chase we've had so far this evening.
Yeah, Steve was just taking a touch bit of angle out in outer zone 1 to try and keep that proximity, obviously because of the horsepower difference between the two.
And you can see there on the screen, Dirk Stratton going to take the unanimous decision over Steve DeVitis.
Coming to the line now is Lake Erie Speedway's very own Ben Bruno going against a tough contender here is Andrew Shorkey.
Yeah, Andrew Shorkey coming all the way from Canada to compete down here, and he comes to nearly every event at this speedway, and it is just, he drives every single lap, whether it's a Mat Series event, and we're all here having fun, or it's a competitive event, like he is competing. It is insane. He is a very much so kind of checkers or wreckers driver. He's very, very aggressive. Ben, though, same exact situation.
Here we go. Andrew Shorkey leading Ben Bruno through the chicane. About a car difference. Big weight transfer from Andrew. Getting up towards outer zone 1. Maybe a tire in. Left foot brake in up there. Little shallow in outer zone 1. Ben about 2 cars back. Missing inner clip 1. Transitioning into the Pro Waste inner clip 2. Left foot braking. Trying to get his Corvette out to outer zone 2. Sailing a little wide. Maybe 2 tires off. Trying to left foot brake. Keeping it steady in the outer zone 2. Ben remaining about 2 cars behind him. Not a terrible run for Ben's first chase here.
Absolutely not. And this is one of those situations, too, where Andrew Shorkey's car is a built engine. It's an LS3, makes a whole bunch of power. Ben's car is a relatively stock 5.3 with essentially just a cam in it. So very good effort from Ben here in the chase. Very, very good lead from Andrew Shorkey as well. As you can see on the replay, not quite initiating into that first zone, but he does end up working a tire up into it. You can see the smoke just rolling off the back of that vet as they make their way here off the bank. Both drivers missing that first inner clip. Shorkey getting 2 tires perfectly through that second inside as they make their way now into the final outside zone. Ben trying desperately to make up some ground there just to try and finish it off on a strong note, but Shorkey just pulling away, making all kinds of grip in the vet. All right, and Ben Bruno here going to lead the way for Andrew Shorkey as the lights go out. They have left the line. Ben making his way through the chicane, 1, 2, 3, and he clutch kicks it into that big weight transfer and ultimately doesn't quite get the car to come out. And you hate to see that. He's now struggling a little bit to get the car to angle. Shorkey behind him, though, dealing with it well, keeping angle all the way through that first turn. Now as they come through the inside clips, making their way to that final outside zone, Ben gets into it nice and early, maybe hangs a tire out of the back of the zone, but ultimately keeps the line all the way through that final outside turn. Andrew Shorkey in the chase doing an absolutely phenomenal job, kind of dealing with that little wonky first turn there that Ben had. Not really sure what happened, but give you a chance to take a look at the replay.
Again, Ben in the lead, leading Andrew Shorkey. Andrew Shorkey just kind of hanging back, understandably, into that first outer zone. Initiates well. Ben seemed to have struggled just a touch through the major first part of that outer zone. Carries that momentum, a little outside of inner clip 1, transitions nicely, hits inner clip 2, starts left foot braking towards outer zone 2, tries to get a couple tires in there. Seems like, I don't know if he went off at all or if he was just outside of it, but he did carry that momentum nicely towards the outside zone 2 on the later half of that.
And you can see they're on the screen, going to send these guys again. And getting a little bit of words from the judges here, they said Shorkey was 3 off through turn 2, so that ultimately depicts a 0. So Ben's kind of failure to initiate here on turn 1, and Andrew Shorkey obviously having that 3 tires off, that is a 0-0. So we will send them again, give them a chance to take another shot at it, and hopefully get a nice, clean battle out of those two.
Lining up now on the line is the one more time battle between Adam Bergner and Jeff Clark. Again, when we were talking earlier, we just told him, we was like, look, you know, you got to clean these lines up a little bit. You got to give the judges something to score here so we don't one more time ourselves up here all the time.
Yeah, Adam Bergner with the 4.8 liter LS under the hood, and obviously that S197 Mustang with the 5.0 under the hood. Very comparable cars. The 240 maybe a little bit underpowered. The 4.8 is obviously the baby of the LS family. So, but he does it extremely well.
It was nice looking at Adam Bergner's car, and tech is pretty well built. The lights go out, Adam in the lead through the chicane, about a half car lead in front of Jeff. Adam, straight line approach, carrying that momentum, shallow in outer zone 1, driving down the bank, trying to get back up into outer zone 1, doesn't have the much momentum to keep it up there, hitting inner clip 1, sponsored by Pro Waste, transitions, hits inner clip 2, carrying that momentum, feathering the throttle, shallow in outer zone 2, bus lengths ahead of Jeff Clark, trying to reel him in, can't quite do it across the finish line.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like coming from outside 1 into inner clip 1, Jeff may be a little bit timid because of that situation that happened in their previous runs. All right, give you guys a chance here to see the replay on that. Adam Bergner leaving the line, Jeff Clark in chase. You can see, like Darren was saying earlier, this straight line initiation kind of tends to drive you down the bank, making it very, very hard to get back up into that zone. And you can see that line there on the bottom, Adam Bergner dipping a tire down to the inside of the track, but it does set him up good for both of the inner clips. And you can see now coming into that final outside zone, not quite getting out there in the beginning, but he does work his way out towards the end as he finishes off the run there. Jeff Clark, not really sure what happened there, but big gap between the two at the end of that run.
I do have to say, I do appreciate the holographic logo on the side of Bergner's car. That thing is definitely colorful coming through when he transitions through the middle of the track. You can read that thing from up here. Just hang tight with us, folks, right now. Right now, we're just dealing with a little bit of technical difficulties up here with some of the camera views. We want to give you guys that are following the live stream, the best views that you guys can possibly see while watching this stream. So just hang with us. We'll get these cameras situated shortly.
All right, as we take a minute here to get this camera situation figured out, I just want to run you guys through the schedule yet again. I'm not going to let you forget it. The upcoming events for the Great Lakes Pro-Am Series, round 1 and 2, obviously this weekend, round 1 today, round 2 tomorrow. Round 3 going to happen on July 12th. Round 4 going to happen on September 20th. And what are these guys competing for? There is a purse for each round, with first being $5,000 and working its way down from there. ECU Master coming on board this year to give discounts to each and every driver in the top 10. An additional product credit to first, second, and third at the end of the year is going to work its way out in a dollars form of $5, $200, and $100. There will be a points fund for the year. First place going home with $2,500, as well as a Formula Drift Pro Spec license, the Link Pro Spec ECU, and a Velocita driver's suit. Second place, $1,250, third, $750, fourth and fifth, going to go home with $500. So a lot on the line for these guys. And I know a lot of times people like to talk about the money, but that's not even really the point of it. It's coming out, it's competing, it's having a good time. This is any automotive sport. And you can see there we have the camera up and running just in time.
It's not about the money, but it's $5,000. Like that, you can buy 3 Miatas with $5,000. Here we have Jeff Clark leading. Adam Bergner, lights are out. Jeff Clark leading through the chicane, hopefully not hitting any cones. About a half a car lead in front of Adam. Straight line approach, clutch in, handbrake, trying to fill that outside zone, driving down the track. That straight line initiation has not been working for these drivers today. Just barely touching inner clip 1, transitioning towards missing inner clip 2, trying to carry that momentum. Left foot braking very shallow in outer zone 2, trying to at least get 1 or 2 wheels into that outer zone 2 in the later parts of that zone. And Adam just trying to maintain a decent show of proximity for him.
Yeah, and it is kind of one of those situations where if your lead is extremely good, then the chase driver has a really good opportunity to put down a very good chase. And you can see here, like you said, that straight line initiation just kind of, if you handbrake your way in, you are stealing momentum from the car. You are going to end up slightly lower on the bank. That's why I said earlier in the day, to do the first outside zone correctly here on this layout, you're going to need so much commitment and so much speed to stay up there. And you can see Adam Bergner in the chase there just doing everything he can to kind of compensate for the line a little bit. Jeff Clark was a little off here, a little off there, and he manages it well, trying to make up some proximity there towards the end of the run.
While these judges are deliberating on who's winning this round, I want to give a very special shout out to 2 Drift Peony original members. Huge shout out to Chris Hooker and Joe Sansone. Thank you very much for watching this stream, taking over the chat. Can't wait to see you at the next event, gents.
Getting confirmation from the judges here, as you can see the graphic up on the screen. Adam Bergner is going to take the win. The graphic on the screen is just not cooperating for us right now, but ultimately Adam will move forward over Jeff Clark. And there you go. The graphic is up and correct.
Here we go with that one more time battle between Andrew Shorkey and Ben Bruno. Andrew's going to be leading Ben.
You can see the lights lit up and they have been extinguished. The drivers will leave the line. Andrew Shorkey going to lead the way. Big clutch kick, huge feint from Shorkey to get himself up on that bank. Ben Bruno, maybe 2.5 cars, but he's making up ground on the bank. Way to go and chase there. Shorkey missing that first inner clip by just maybe 1/4 of a car. Ben losing a little bit of space there through that center section. Is Shorkey now in that final outside zone. Ben with a big correction in the chase, unfortunately straightens as he comes across the line there to finish out that run.
As we look at the replay, you can see Andrew Shorkey leading Ben Bruno. Clutch kick initiation up into that outer zone 1. Ben holding pretty good proximity, a little bit shallower of angle, getting one tire into inner clip 1, transitioning into inner clip 2, standing on the left foot brake, putting those 2 rear tires into outer zone 2. Ben doing all he can with that horsepower difference between the Vet and that LSS 14, wavering just a bit in the chase, but all in all, a pretty good lead from Andrew.
Yeah, Andrew Shorkey doing a really good job there in his lead run. Ben, for the first 3/4 of the run, absolutely warrior to be able to maintain angle and proximity against that big power C5 in the 5.3 S14. But we will switch them around here, give Ben a chance to answer back in the lead.
And lights are up, lights are out. Ben Bruno leading through the chicane. Andrew Shorkey not giving him any room, staying tight with him. Ben Bruno, big weight transfer, trying to carry that momentum up into outer zone 1. Still struggling a little bit, driving down the bank, missing the later parts of outer zone 1, sponsored by Distinct Drift. Getting a tire into inner clip 1, transferring into inner clip 2, just a bit outside, standing on the left foot brake, a little shallow in the beginning parts of outer zone 2, trying to keep those 2 rear tires, straightens up a little bit, shallow driving away in the outer zone 2.
Yeah, kind of the same story there in both runs for Ben Bruno. That final outside zone just, I don't know, maybe if there's a shift in there and he's struggling to get into gear or what, but straightening twice in the same exact spot. It's really unfortunate to see, but give you guys a chance here to take a look at this replay. Andrew Shorkey going to chase Ben around this first turn. Ben with a really confident initiation, but just struggling to maybe keep that car at angle and not being able to keep it up on the bank, which really does come from a momentum versus a horsepower versus a grip kind of situation. And now as they come into that final outside zone, Ben getting into it a little bit late, and then you can see here kind of that same situation. The car just sort of falls out of angle and he has to reinitiate, giving him a little bit of a gap there on Shorkey, but maybe just Shorkey kind of compensating, not really sure what's going on, doesn't want to drive up on a car when it seems like he's kind of struggling to keep it at angle. So interesting to see what the judges think about this and ultimately what happens.
Anytime anybody is driving against Andrew Shorkey, it is a tall task. And for this being Ben Bruno's first Great Lakes Pro-Am competition, his first battle is going against a very notable driver of Andrew Shorkey. Again, that's nothing to bat your eye to. Whatever these judges choose as who's the winner, I want to give both of these drivers a big shout out because this was a tough run.
Yeah, and I mean, these guys, and you can see there, Andrew Shorkey is going to take the win. And I have to assume that it's that big straightening through that final outside zone from Ben that's going to be the ultimate deficit on both sides of the board here. But like you said earlier, I mean, we've both driven with both of these guys over the years. Shorkey is, I have no appropriate words to describe how that man drives. He is an animal. And Ben, always the showman, never going to let a good burnout go to waste as he leaves the track here. And pulling up to the line here, you can see that RS5 of Andrei Musienko going to lead the way for the Turbo 370Z of Theon Nelson. Yeah, interesting power plant here in this RS5. That is a VR6 Turbo, which is more commonly known from smaller Volkswagens like a Jetta or certain Golfs came with them. and you can see the lights are off, but I can assure you that this is not your standard VR6. Same with Theon Nelson with that VQ37. A little bit of a failure to initiate there from Theon, but Andre way up on the bank, just rolling the rear tires off that RS5. Beautiful job coming off that bank through inner one now. Flames shooting out of the hood as they come down to this final outside zone. Andre just beating on that car, sitting on wastegate, sitting on limiter all the way through that final outside zone. Fantastic job by Andre Musienko there in the lead. Theon Nelson doing what he can to make up proximity there in the chase. Fantastic job by both of these drivers. And even now, you can see the smoke. The track is drying out, but we're getting to that kind of weird spot where there's a dry line. And if you find yourself outside of that line, it's going to be a full loss of grip.
Playing this back, Andre did a phenomenal job. Big weight transfer into outer zone 1, just standing on the left foot brake, rolling smoke through outer zone 1, kind of, angling up towards the outer zone 1, hitting that inner clip, transitioning, hitting inner clip 2, just left foot braking what looks to be most of the track, just trying to keep that car within the limits of that outer zone 2. Theon pulling in pretty close with this proximity, keeping up. What a good run that was.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal job by both of these guys. We're going to switch them around, give Theon a chance to answer back with a chase, and also give Andre a chance to chase. Have not got to really see him do much today in practice, so
lights are on. Theon leading Andre in the VR6 Audi. Theon trying to give it all she has. You can hear that turbo screaming from up here. Big weight transfer initiation, a little shallow in outer zone 1. Andre right next to him, getting close to him, putting that proximity on his passenger door. A little bit of left foot brake. Theon way off course, and they both have to back it down. Wow, what a good chase there for that first outer zone run from Andre. Both these drivers just continuing the later parts of the run, probably just showing a show of sportsmanship. Andre with a little 360 on the end there.
yeah, and you can really see in that first outside zone, Andre was coming for Theon. Super aggressive, very tight initiation, and then just sticking it to the door of that Z, that full outside zone. Not really sure what happened to Theon there. He kind of, maybe a little bit of contact, kind of started to push the car around, and he had to get out of it, but we will ultimately see here what the judges think about it as they deliberate. And you can see it there up on screen on the graphic. Andre Musienko is going to be moving forward in that crazy VR6 turbo-powered Audi RS5, sponsored by obviously FCP Euro and Liqui Moly.
Coming to the line next, we have Colin Gillespie in his BMW E46 against Nick Johnson in his Coyote Ford Mustang. Nick's going to be chasing Colin here. Colin's car got a bit of a refresh over the winter. Went from black, pink, and blue to this bright white. Can't miss that out on the track now.
Yeah, and Colin here having his title sponsor of the Land Glide app as we send cars. Going to bring him back. The previous battle still sitting there at the chute. Not really sure what's going on. Maybe a little bit of a communication error on our part, not getting them off the track. But we will figure it out, and we will get cars moving here shortly.
All right, here we go. Lights are on. Colin in the lead in front of Nick Johnson. Colin through the chicane. Getting a good gap on Nick here. Big weight transfer initiation. Kind of hangs up a little bit, driving straight. Not initiating until the later part of the zone here. Nick trying to go ahead and close that proximity. A little bit of wavering because of the squirrely initiation by Colin. Hitting inner clip 2. Kind of standing on it, trying to get the last 2 rear tires into outer zone 2. about 2 cars of proximity from Nick. Got to clean that up, boys.
Yeah, and I believe ultimately there is kind of a situation that can happen in drifting where you call it an unchaseable lead, and I think that might ultimately fall into that kind of zone of not really initiating, plus that understeer. That's always scary as a chase driver. You don't really want to be close. If they don't correct it, they end up in a wall, and you're just going to end up chasing them into it. So give you guys a chance here to look at the replay. And you can see Colin there still, I mean, the wheels are locked going down the bank and just no angle in the car. Most of that first outside zone, that first turn, and never really does recover from it there in the chase. Colin doing a pretty good job there on the second half of the run, but whether or not that first half is forgivable is up to the judges, not me, and I'm thankful for that.
And that's nothing to bat an eye at. Like, I sit up here, minimal experience, commenting on Colin's driving, but man, I wouldn't be anywhere near that wall. Not even close.
And give Nick Johnson here a chance to answer back to Colin, see if he can put down a good, clean lead. Big weight transfer there from the Mustang in the front, but ultimately straightening there, kind of a second initiation into the first zone, not really making it up the bank, but he does stay within the confines of the track as they come through the first inside zone and through the second. Good job, but very, very shallow there for both cars coming into that second outside zone. Colin following the line of the Mustang as they finish off there to end the run.
Yeah, it looked like they were quite a bit off track on the inner side of that track. I don't know if they were 2 off, 3 off. I'm not too sure. Looking at the replay here, we see Nick in the lead through the chicane. Colin trying to give him at least maybe 1-2 car gap. Big weight transfer initiation, shallow, big waiver in the first part of the initiation. Finally gathers it back in, trying to get that car up to outer zones 1. Hitting inner clip 1, transitioning into inner clip 2. Tries to scoot that car out to outer zone 2 and just has almost 3 tires off on that outer zone 2. So
yeah,
I don't know what the judges are going to call.
Maybe even 3, yeah. All right, you can see it there on the graphic on the screen. Nick Johnson going to be moving forward over Colin Gillespie. Yeah, so ultimately the nail in the coffin there for Colin Gillespie was just that first zone, considering it to be unchaseable there for the chase driver.
Now at the line we have Brad Paw going against Eli Lussier in the Cadillac CTS. I know that, again, we were talking about this earlier, that Eli was having a little bit of a problem, obviously, with third gear. I don't know if third gear is gone. It's not working. It's hard to get into. But hopefully now that the track's drying out, hopefully Eli can rally that in. Here we see that the lights go out. Brad in lead of Eli. Straight line approach, grabbing the handbrake. Eli trying to get as close as he can, trying to reinitiate to avoid hitting that wall. Brad real shallow, coming out of outer zone 1. Missing inner clip 1 a little bit, transitioning into inner clip 2. Eli trying to make up some ground. Brad left foot braking out into outer zone 2. Eli reeling him in slowly but surely towards the end of the run here, but that was a little bit of a bobble in the beginning of the run there.
Yeah, and I'm not really even sure who's at fault for that. I have to look at the replay and actually get a good look at it, but I really feel like Eli was just carrying so much more momentum into that initiation that he really maybe even kind of choked himself out, didn't really have anywhere to go when it came to that big correction there. And you can kind of see, yeah, Brad kind of goes for that straight line clutch kick. Eli coming in so hot behind him and just not being able to kind of make up for it. But kudos to Eli for doing the right thing, making the decision there to just stay in it rather than lock up the brakes, and he would have ended up in the wall.
It almost, on this replay, it almost looked, because Eli did a big weight transfer initiation and Brad doing the straight line initiation, it almost made Brad's initiation look late. And I don't know if that's just because Eli was carrying so much momentum towards him, trying to gain that proximity, but it was kind of a clunky initiation on both parts.
I think it's kind of that difference between if you go for the straight line and it's kind of a handbrake pull, you're just robbing momentum. And Eli going for that big clutch kick, he's just picking up speed, and he ultimately didn't have anywhere to go. So, and you can see them now, Eli going to lead the way. See if he maintains that big initiation here in the lead, and he does. Look at the weight transfer, putting him right out to that wall. A little bit of a correction there. Left foot brake to kind of drag the front end of the car back down the bank to stay at angle as they come through that first inner clip. Great job by Eli there in the lead. Brad trying to make up some ground there in the chase. They come down to this final outside zone. Eli getting into it a little bit late, but ultimately does have 2 tires in the zone. And Brad, big correction there behind him to that final outside. Ultimately, very good job by Eli in the lead. I love his initiation into this first outside zone. It's the perfect way to set yourself up for success.
In that big-bodied car, that weight transfer has to be tough. You know, that's a lot of weight that he has to shove around into outer zone 1. Looking at the replay, Eli just trying to, you know, reel it back in, trying to get both those rear tires into outer zone 1. A little bit of a clutch in handbrake coming out of outer zone 1, hits inner clip 1, sponsored by ProAm, transitions into inner clip 2, left foot braking, trying to keep those 2 rear tires in the zone. Brad trying to reel him in here, trying to gain proximity, a little bit of a bobble, trying to, you know, a little bit of an understeer there, reinitiates to try and keep that proximity on Eli. But
yeah, and I got to say that Eli's car it's a 5.3. It's a big, big turbo underneath the hood of that thing. And when he is coming down this front straight, his wastegate is pointed at the window, and it sounds bananas. And you can see there from the graphic, Eli going to move on over Brad Powell. All right, we're going to take a short commercial break here between 32 and 16. Then we'll get right back.
Link ECU, let's get it.
We got the spiciest K-Series built.
Supercharged Ford Eliminator engine.
Oh, good old SR20. Link Monsoon is so rowdy.
Naturally aspirated, 1,000 horsepower, LS-based engine, and then we're going to add nitrous on top of it.
Running an S54 controlled by Link ECU. Link direct injection EcoBoost Fox body.
I actually put an F824 in it.
B58, E46, Link ECU.
No matter what engine you have, it's stock K24 or it's a 1,000-wheel 2J. Link ECU all day.
All right, welcome back. As you can see here, if you're still following the stream, we have our winners of each battle highlighted in yellow. We got Troy Manners, Jake Schuster, Mo Aldemine, Tom Snyder, Dylan Weber, Alan Boss, Henry Donahue, Dirk Stratton, Casey Rodriguez, Andrew Falk with his bye, Adam Bergner, Eric Kananowitz, Andrew Shorkey, Andriy Musienko, Nick Johnson, and Eli Lussier.
And your first battle coming out here on track in descending order from left to right will be Troy Manners versus Jake Schuster. Two very different cars, two very different drivers. Troy Manor obviously being the defending champion from last year, and Jake Schuster being on a totally new power plant for this year, but did extremely well in top 32. So eager to see how this plays out. Going to give the track guys down there a chance to repaint some lines, maybe give these guys a little bit clearer view of where they need to be on the zones and where the outer limits of the track are.
That was a very good pass, Sean. Good catch, Spence. All right, as we see here, Troy Manor is going to be leading Jacob Schuster in Jake's 358 BMW, small block Chevy, BMW E36. It's a tall task for Jake. I know Jake's been behind the wheel of that E36 for a while, but going against the reigning defending 2024 champ is going to be a tough one.
And the lights are off and they have left. Troy Manor's going to lead the way. And you can see just how fast Troy Manor's car is. That big initiation there into turn one. He is way up on the bank, one tire in the zone, not quite as far up as he needs to be. As he comes down through that first inner clip, absolutely nails it. Into that second clip, same situation as he makes his way into that final outside zone, dips a tire in nice and early and keeps it there. You can see the left foot brake trying to maintain the angle of that car as he finishes out the run. Absolutely phenomenal job there by Troy Manners in the lead. That is a textbook lead run.
Looks like Jake got off to a very, I wouldn't say slow start, but you can tell he was just spinning all the way down the front stretch here, trying to get that car up to speed, trying to catch up to Troy. Troy's horsepower is undoubtedly faster than Jake. So, I mean, it's a struggle for Jake.
Yeah, Troy's car is extremely fast, whether it's in a straight line or in drift, and he knows how to drive it. He's been driving the same car, or at the very least the same style of car, basically since his inception as a driver. So absolutely fantastic job there by Troy. Very good job by Jake in the chase, trying to make up that ground where he can.
I'm sure Troy's spotter is in his ear letting him know that what type of chase that Jake just had. Is probably telling him he doesn't need to be very aggressive, can lay back just a touch, doesn't need to risk anything here to try and win this round to advance on to the next battle.
All right, you can see Brian Reichert down there giving the drivers a thumbs up and setting the lights off for him. The lights have extinguished and they have left the line. Jake Schuster going to lead the way now into turn one, putting that torque to work of that small block Chevy and that E36 as he initiates now into turn one. Not quite getting up into that first zone, but Troy following the line exactly where he needs to be. Jake in the lead there, missing that first inner clip and the second inner clip, and trying to make his way out to that final outer zone. Shallow halfway through, but he does end up eventually getting out into it. And Troy there just kind of nosing that S14 in, making up a little bit of ground, but he knows he's at an advantage. So maybe trying to play it safe a little bit there. Don't get too overly aggressive and end up causing a problem you don't need.
Yeah, looking at the replay here, you know, Jake was off to a pretty good start in his small block Chevy. Dragging through the chicane, trying to get as much momentum as he can to outside zone one. Manners just trying to hang back, seeing if he's going to, you know, fill the zone up towards the wall. Jake just a little shallow in outer zone one, missing the inner clip one. tries to transition on time to hit inner clip 2, just outside of inner clip 2, which puts him offline for outer zone 2. He's trying to left foot brake, trying to get both those rear tires in the later part of the zone towards the end of the run there. Nanners, just trying to put a little bit more proximity, knowing that he didn't have to get that close to try and win that round.
Yeah, and as a chase driver, it is ultimately your goal to follow the line you are given. And you can see there, Troy does exactly that, and it is enough to make him move forward over Jake Schuster here in top 16.
Next to the line here is Tom Snyder and Mo Aldamine. Mo Aldamine is going to be leading Tom. Mo's car looks phenomenal. With these lights on that livery and that paint color, man, that looks good.
Yeah, I'm eager to see what happens here. Tom kind of looked like he was maybe having some issues with his first outer zone here earlier in the day, but now with the track conditions maybe getting a little bit more consistent, there's a lot more dry up on the bank. That center section of the track still a little bit spotty. It's kind of hit and miss, but Mo going to lead the way here, and I got to say in practice, Mo was doing very good. It ultimately seems like he kind of has that mentality of it's a race car, we're going to race it. So the lights are out and they have left the line. Mo Alderman pulling maybe a 1 to 2 car gap here. Big clutch kick, weight transfer, and a little bit of a double initiation there. And Tom understeering badly there in the middle of that first outside zone as Mo just rolling smoke through the center of the track here. Getting into that final outside zone. Both inner clips maybe a little bit too wide on both of them there to be judged. But Tom, 30 cars, unfortunately, there to finish out the run. Big correction there in that first turn from Tom. And like I said earlier, it seemed like he was maybe having a little bit of struggle there, staying up on the bank, just keeping the car to angle. And ultimately, that's what you saw there at the beginning of that run.
I'm just thankful he was able to gather it and lock it down before making contact with that outside retaining wall. Looking at the replay, big weight transfer here from Mo Aldamine, standing on the left foot brake, trying to get both of those rear tires into that zone. Fortunately, this is where Tom had the little mistake. Mo carrying on, hitting inner clip 1, transitioning very well, just outside of outer zone or inner clip 2 into outside zone 2, standing on the left foot brake, trying to gather it up, putting both those rear tires in the outer zone, carrying it on. But Tom, with unfortunate issues in outer zone 1, just kind of extended that proximity farther and farther away throughout the run.
And Tom going to switch them around here and lead the way. The lights are out and they have left the line. Tom Snyder going to get a chance to answer back to Mo in the lead. Same kind of situation, big weight transfer there for Tom. You see the left foot brake come on, trying to hold that BRZ at angle as they make their way through that first outside zone. Neither one of them really making it up the bank to the zone. Really strange transition there from Mo Alderman. Kind of makes him have to choke up in the chase. Big correction there. As Tom, you can see, dipping a tire out of the back of that final outside zone. And Mo just trying to make up some ground there to finish off the run. Not really sure what happened through the middle there to Mo. It kind of seemed like he tried to transition a little bit early to try and make up some ground there, and it kind of just put him in sort of a weird spot, and he wasn't able to follow through.
Yeah, rolling the replay back. Obviously, Tom out in front. I'm sure he's been struggling with this car today. It seems like he hasn't really gathered it all in. Straight line approach, a little bit of a weight transfer, shallow in outer zone 1. Mo Aldamine just trying to keep that proximity, matching the angle. Tom angling up, trying to hit inner clip 1. Mo with like you said, a late or an awkward transition through the middle there. Tom missed the beginning parts of outer zone 2, probably 2 tires off at the end of outer zone 2, and Mo's just trying to reel him in at that point.
Yeah, that's kind of one of those strategies you have as a chase driver. If you start to see the lead kind of pull away from you, you might transition just, a beat earlier to try and shoot in and make up some ground there. It looks like what Mo kind of did, but ultimately a little bit too much maybe. Picking up a little bit too much ground there and choking himself out. It really had nowhere to go and ends up with that big correction there from inner 1 to inner 2. All right, and we're going to get a side-by-side replay of these two so the judges can get some clarity, a good bit of comparison here between the two runs. And you can see there on the left, Tom Robinson leading, on the right, Mo Alderman, and both kind of have that same Tom Snyder, my apologies. And you can see both of them kind of have that sort of strange initiation where there's almost like a double initiation there. And you can see on the left side of your screen, Mo Alderman doing that, trying to cut the line a little bit, make up some ground, and cutting it short, having to straighten.
Yeah, Tom definitely was 2 tires off in that outer zone 2 in the later parts of that stage there.
Yeah, and you really have to weigh it. Does Mo's mistake coming through the middle make up for that very large lack of proximity there from Tom in the chase?
As the judges are making their decision here, obviously we see another competitor there leaning on the golf cart. Big shout out to Mr. El Nino, Taylor Braun. Welcome to Lake Erie Speedway.
And you can see there from the graphic on the screen is going to be a one more time for Tom Snyder and Mo Alderman. Give these guys a chance to come back out, clean it up, give us a good scoreable battle there. All right, you can see there on your screen, we're going to have Alan Boss leading the way for Dylan Weber here in this next battle.
Alan Boss with a good initiation, getting up towards the walls, starting to shallow up. Dylan laying on the proximity towards Alan. Alan kind of slowing up to hit inner clip 1, transitioning into inner clip 2. Dylan falling back just a little bit. Alan left foot breaking into outer zone 2. Dylan blasts the cone, tearing off the front of his car. Fender hanging off the front of his car. Headlight out, still on the throttle. Let's see if he's going to have to call a timeout for that one. Lots of damage to the front of that green Mustang. We're not too sure if he hit 3 cones or the blue trash can, but man, it is torn up right now.
All right, take a look at the replay here. I really am curious to see what Dylan hit because that clip is in the perfect spot. The tower is kind of blocking it for us. We can't see what happened. You can see a little bit of wavering there from Alan Boss in the lead, but Dylan doing what he can to make up some ground there in the chase as they come past this clip. And I think it ultimately is that Dylan Weber may have hit that trash can that we were using for an inner clip there. Or was it just the cones? Yeah, so the 3 cones just decimating the front bumper on that Mustang.
Man, that took a lot of that car out. Did we tell Dylan those cones are filled with concrete before he hit them?
And you can see there as they line back up, he's missing a headlight, a bumper, a fender. And I know Dylan from other events, and he does really care about the front end of that car.
He really cares about that kit. All right, now we see Dylan lining up to lead Alan Boss. Hopefully everything's all squared away for him. He doesn't have to use his 5-minute timeout, but man, look at the front of the car, man. I hope he can fix that. He did have an accident last year where right before he went to US Air, he had an accident. And he was able to put that kit right back together the night before, get it paint matched, and out to US Air. So if anybody can fix it in a short amount of time, it is Dylan.
All right, we have confirmation from up here in the booth. We are good to send cars. The track is cleaned up. As you see the lights come on there, when they extinguish, they will leave the line. Dylan going to lead the way now for Alan Boss. And you can see here just how much horsepower that Z makes, having no struggle at all to make up ground on the side of that Mustang. Dylan doing a great job, though, in the lead, keeping it up on the bank, giving Alan something to chase as they come now past that second inner clip. Very, very nice line from Dylan in the lead, getting from inner 2 to outer 2. and keeping it in all the way out through the final. Oh, my. And there, Alan Boss carrying so much momentum at the end of that run, almost wrecking into the back of Weber's car.
Things are getting rowdy here, Lake Erie Speedway, I tell you.
And that is how this is going to pan out as the brackets get narrower, the driving gets more aggressive.
Yeah, taking another look back at this, Dylan with a great initiation, trying to get that Mustang up towards the wall. Alan Boss is just maybe a little bit of contact towards that door, just laying the pressure on Dylan. Hitting that inner clip 1. Great job by Dylan. Transitioning, hitting inner clip 2, carrying that momentum into outer zone 2. Alan Boss just trying to maintain his proximity, keep it together, gathered in, reeling him in towards the end of outer zone 2. What a great run, man. This is starting to get entertaining with a little bit of almost contact at the end there.
Yeah, and you can see there towards the end of that final outside zone, Alan Boss just able to make up so much momentum in that car that Dylan gets across the line, shuts it down, and Alan is carrying so much speed that he just barely edges out, not wrecking into the back of the Mustang there.
Man, what a run.
And you can see there from the graphic on the screen, Alan Boss going to take the win over Dylan Weber.
Dylan doing a burnout just like he throwing a sandbag on the gas pedal, just lighting those tires up, brother.
And you can see here lined up, ready to go, is Dirk Stratton in the lead, being chased by Brendan Fraley. This is a strange battle. I cannot say it enough. There is a full-blown pro car in that Corvette being chased by a bone stock 370Z. And you can see leading the line here is Dirk Stratton with that side lit up with that Oracle lighting sticker. Fraley desperately trying to make up some ground, cutting all kinds of line, trying to get up to the vet. Dirk doing an absolutely fantastic job in that first outside zone now as he transitions through the middle, through those inner clips, trying to work his way out into that final outside zone. Fraley trying to cut the line a little bit, make up some proximity, getting up to the side of the vet as Dirk brings her across the line. And, I mean, I kind of figured that was going to be the tail of the tape for that, too. There's so much speed in the vet, and it's just not going to be there in that stock Z. But there isn't an interesting situation now that's going to happen where they flip around and Dirk has to chase the stock Z with all that speed in the vet. So,
and it's even tough. You add all this horsepower and pro car versus essentially a grassroots looking car, and then you throw in the thing the skill level, right? So like this is, I believe this is Brennan's first time competing in the ProAm series.
Yeah, you are correct there, and you can see it there, just that crazy gap that Dirk's able to pull out coming into that first outside zone. And Brendan cutting the line here and there, kind of chopping up, trying to get up there, and ultimately towards the end of the run making it look half decent. So I'll give him that. But, you know, this is going to be interesting because if you drive a very fast car with other very fast cars, it's comparable. But now you have a rather slow car in front of a very fast car.
And as you see here, we got Brendan leading Dirk into outer zone 1, sponsored by Distinct Drift. Straight line approach, handbrake, no, very little angle from the 370Z. Dirk just kind of hanging back, maintaining angle, just trying to give him a little bit of space. Transitioning into inner clip 2, hits inner clip 2, left foot braking, trying to get that 370Z out to the outer zone 2, putting 2 tires, maybe 1 tire in it, and finishing off the line.
All right, and you can see what we were saying earlier about that. The sticker on the side of Dirk Stratton's car is physically lit up. That is an LED sticker provided by Oracle Lighting, which is one of his title sponsors, as well as Lingenfelder. And just really cool technology. It's just really neat to see. You don't see it very often. So just want to point that out to the people at home watching. That's not reflective. That is a light. And you can see it there. The judge is going to lean towards Dirk Stratton, who is going to move on over Brendan Fraley. And absolutely heroic effort by Fraley in that 370Z, trying to run against a car and a driver the caliber of Dirk Stratton. So very good job to both those guys. Dirk's going to be moving on. Can't wait to see what happens as we move forward here in the night.
Pulling to the line now is Casey Rodriguez in his LS Nissan 350Z against Andrew Falk in the E36. Casey's going to be leading Andrew here. Should be a good lead here for sure for Andrew to keep a good chase for him.
Yeah, Casey historically being one of the most consistent drivers to come into this series, and his teammates, obviously Alan Boss, you can see from kind of the similar liveries there on the car, both of them LS powered, both of them very, very confident drivers. And watching practice today, Casey was, I would say, 1-to-1 with Eli Lucier for just overall line choice. And when he does get a chance, he puts on a clinic in the lead. So
here we see Casey leading Andrew Falk through the chicane, about a 2-car gap heading into distinct drift, outer zone 1. Casey with a little bit of a mod shift there goes ahead, and Andrew's allowed to closing the gap. Casey reeling into inner clip 1. Transitioning with Andrew keeping good proximity into inner clip 2, loops it in inner clip 2, taking out the cones. Casey Rodriguez carrying on, left foot braking in outer zone 2, clearly with two tires in that zone, just standing on the brake until he crosses the line. Unfortunate for Andrew Falk.
Yeah, I really think it is ultimately just that kind of patchy surface kind of bit him there. Coming through that center, you have a dry line, and if you get outside of that dry line, it's going to be very slick, and I ultimately think that's what caused the spin. But you can see here from this initiation by Casey, a little bit of wavering there, not really sure what was going on with that, but ultimately gathers the car together and gets to angle, and he's just maintaining, gives Andrew a chance to get up nice and tight to the side of the Z. And then you can see here just the car comes around on him, Falk can't catch it, and Casey moves on to just fill out that final outside zone. Hearing from the guys up here in the booth, interesting fact about this battle, both of these drivers started at the same event, so they are very similar in at least seat time, I would say. We're going to switch them around, give Andrew Falk a chance to lead Casey Rodriguez. Casey, a notoriously dominant chase driver, so eager to see what happens here. The lights go out and they leave the line. Andrew Falk, Casey giving him no room there. Good initiation by Falk, keeps it right to angle. A little bit of wavering there in the chase from Casey. You can still kind of see it. Every time he comes off that left foot brake, the car sort of grips up and loses a bit of angle. Really, really nice transition there from Casey behind Andrew Falk. Andrew puts a bunch of angle in it, trying not to make his way to the outside of that zone. And Casey just giving him no room there to finish off the run.
Boy, Casey was really throwing on the pressure there in the later stages of outer zone 2. He was pretty shallow. Andrew was pretty shallow coming off the bank. I don't know how many tires were off, and maybe 2, maybe 3. But, man, Casey laying that pressure on in outer zone 2 probably had Andrew a little nervous for sure.
Yeah, like I said before this run, Casey Rodriguez notorious for not giving people breathing room. And, I mean, that's ultimately what you want as a chase driver. You want to be as close as you possibly can, touching if you can get there. And you can see here, maybe a tire off on the inside of that first turn, but you can see that transition. Casey transitions a little bit early just to kind of snug up the gap there and make up some proximity, and it works for him because you can see this full outside zone. Casey with less than a car between the two, not even a wheel there.
As you see it there, folks, an unanimous decision. Casey Rodriguez moving on to the next round.
Yeah, and I expect great things from him moving forward. He is an absolutely phenomenal driver, and as the competition gets, I would say, more and more consistent as we move through the bracket, it gives the chase drivers a better opportunity to be more and more aggressive as we go. So can't wait to see what comes from the end of this night.
But good job for Andrew. I mean, he put it all out there. He's a young driver, and he has all the time in the world to learn this and just get better each and every single time. Good for him.
And you can see pulling up to the line there is going to be Tom Snyder and Mo Alderman.
All right, lights are out. Mo Alderman leading Tom Snyder with a good about a car and a half deep separation. Big weight transfer in outer zone 1, standing on the left foot brake, a little shallow, starting to get 1 or 2 tires into outer zone 1, coming off of the bank, hitting inner clip 1, transitioning, starting to get that front end just outside of inner clip 2, standing on the left foot brake, needs to get that car a little bit farther out into outer zone 2, finally starting to get 2 tires in towards the later parts of that stage of that zone.
All right, give you guys a chance here to look at the replay, get a little bit of a breakdown here as to what happened. You can see they leave the line. Everything is clean and happy there. Mo pulls out maybe a 2-car gap there, but that big weight transfer putting him up on the bank gives him that nice smooth line all the way through. Even if he's not in the zone, definitely chaseable, definitely on track. Tom doing a pretty good job there, maybe a 3-4 car gap between the two, but you can see through this transition, Mo transitions maybe a little bit late, doesn't quite get to that second inner clip, and that kind of makes the line a little bit shallow coming into that final outer zone, but ultimately he does get out there, and Tom is able to make up some proximity there to finish out the run. All right, we're going to switch them around here. Tom going to lead the way as the lights go out. They leave the line. Mo in chase. See how aggressive Mo cares to get with this. You can see big weight transfer from Tom there, getting up onto that bank. Much better line from him all the way through there, nice and smooth. Pulling out a little bit of a gap, but ultimately very consistent from both drivers here, coming out of outside 1 into inner 1. You can see inner 2, both guys getting in there as they come to outer zone number 2. Tom gets 2 tires in, but it's a little bit late. Mo, though, unwavered in chase, maintaining the same gap that entire run.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough call. I think the judges are definitely going to have to do a side-by-side on that one. If you look at the replay here, lights go out. Tom stands on the throttle through the chicane. Mo wasn't really giving him a lot of room into the distinct drift outer zone 1. Tom just a touch shallow. Would like to see him closer up towards the wall a little bit. Mo keeping that proximity. Tom then angles up a little bit at the end of outer zone 1, misses inner clip 1, transitions a touch late, just missing outer zone or inner clip 2, tries the left foot brake, trying to get those last 2 rear tires into outer zone 2. That is a tough transition for a lot of these drivers, is going from inner clip 2 to outer zone 2. It's tough. We see a lot of drivers that are missing the first beginning part of outer zone 2 and then end up gathering it up and getting 2 tires in towards the middle part of that zone.
And you can see that on your screen now. We are going to get a side-by-side replay of these two. Very similar initiations from both drivers. Mo definitely higher on the bank than Tom was in his lead. And you can see that nice, consistent chase distance by Mo behind Tom. Tom lagging behind a little bit there, trying to make up some ground here, pulling some angle. And you can see both drivers on that left-hand side blowing 2 tires out of the back of that second outside zone, which is not a 0, but it is definitely a big, big deficit there.
Big shout out to our media people while we're waiting here for the judge's decision. You see Gary there at 545 Media. Evan with Garv VHS just walking by. Thanks for joining us, boys. Can't wait to see your outcome of your media.
And there you have it from the graphic on the screen. Mo will be moving on over Tom Snyder.
You know what's great is while we're waiting here for this next lineup, I was talking to Matt about that golf cart. Same exact bolt pattern as the car that I drive. 4x100. I could literally put those wheels on the golf cart on my car. They'd probably fit.
Yeah, so getting confirmation up here. Eric Kananowick's not able to make it to the line because his transmission has failed. So we were ultimately correct, and he was probably not able to get the car into gear there. So Adam Bergener going to take a bye run here.
Oh, what a shame, man. That car was ripping, too. Bergener leaving the chicane. Probably not just going to put it all out on the line. Really slow. Probably not going to initiate into this lap. Probably just going to do a sight lap, move on to the next round.
Yeah, ultimately all he has to do is prove that he can leave the line. So,
Or I was wrong.
yeah, going to avoid the bank, kick it in, and loop it in the middle of the track because why not?
Well, if you're going to do it, this is the time to do it, okay? There's no ramifications for that right now. Okay, Shorkey. Zach, I got a pretty good feeling about this run. I think it's going to be entertaining. We've seen these guys ripping all day long in practice earlier today. I'm pretty excited for this one.
Yeah, this has potential to be a heater of a battle between Andrew Shorkey and Andriy Musienko.
All right, lining up to the line now. Lights are on. Andrew Shorkey leading Andriy Musienko. Andriy not giving him any room up to outer zone 1. Big weight transfer initiation. Andriy staying with him, keeping the same angle, keeping good proximity. Sparks flying out of the back of Andriy's car. Coming off of the bank, Andrew Shorkey just outside of inner clip 1. Transitioning, Andriy staying right with him into inner clip 2, left foot braking into outer zone 2. Andriy standing right next to him, putting the pressure on Shorkey like he's never seen it before across the finish line. What a chase!
Yeah, and I know that if you guys are at home and you're watching on stream, it just doesn't do it justice. But when that limiter hits on that RS5, it shakes this racetrack. It is crazy.
Man, I told you, Zach, I had a good feeling about this one, and it hasn't failed me yet.
All right, give you guys a chance to look at the replay here. Andrew Shorkey leading the way, and you can see that big weight transfer and Andriy giving him no space all the way through that first outside zone. Sparks flying off the car as they hit that bump in the middle of the bank. Coming now off the bank. Both guys a little bit outside of that first inner clip, but cleaning it up there, coming through the second. And Andriy just absolutely pasting it to the door of Shorkey to finish off the run here. Smoke rolling out of both cars. Cars are making grip. They are moving, ladies and gentlemen.
Man, that's so impressive.
We're going to switch them around here, give Andriy a chance to lead, give Shorkey a chance to chase, and I cannot believe that this is going to be a bad lead run. Andriy was laying it down in practice all day. Both of these cars are extremely fast.
Andrew needs to put the pressure on Andriy.
Yeah, I would have to say after that chase, Andrew has his work cut out for him here. Andriy pulling away from the line, pulling maybe a two-car gap there on Shorkey. Big weight transfer way high on the bank. Out where he needs to be. You can see him left foot braking to keep that car at angle. Shorkey nosing in as they come through that first inner clip. A little bit of a correction there from Shorkey in the chase gives Andriy a chance to pull out a big gap here coming into that second outside zone. You see flames shooting out from the bottom of that RS5. Absolutely phenomenal job by Musienko there in the lead. Shorkey falling behind a little bit, maybe a little bit of a mistake there. We'll see how the judges see it.
Man, what good runs this was. Andriy definitely was closer in the chase. Andrew was a little bit farther in his chase. It's going to be a tough call for these judges because that was a phenomenal lead by Andrew for sure, giving Andriy a good chance to have a good chase. For the replay here, Andriy in the lead, up by the wall, left foot braking all the way up. Not a ton of angle, but he's definitely in the zone. Andrew Shorkey just trying to put as much pressure on Andriy as he can. A little bit of bobble there in inner clip 1. Andriy transitions all the way out to outer zone 2, left foot braking, fireball out the back, just standing on the throttle and the left foot brake, and then Andrew's just behind him trying to reel him in. Plus, these cars look great on the track next to each other. All the colors. All of the colors.
And you can see it there on the graphic. Andriy Musienko going to move on over Andrew Shorkey. Absolutely phenomenal job by both of these guys. but Andre probably just a little bit closer there in his chase, and his lead line around that first outside zone. He is the first driver we've had tonight to just put it on the wall and keep it there all the way around. So absolutely fantastic job by both of those guys. Andre moving on. Andrew Shorkey lives to fight another day. We'll see him again tomorrow. All right, and on the line there you have Eli Lucier going to be leading there for Nick Johnson in that S550 Mustang. And the lights are off and they've left the line. Eli going to lead the way here in this turbo CTS Cadillac. Such a big body car, but man, he manhandles that thing around the track. And you see that big initiation, but he's driving way down the bank, maybe a little bit too much angle there. You can see them come through that first inner clip. Nick trying to make up some proximity there. Eli making his way now into that final outside zone. Nick cutting a lot of the track there in chase, and probably 2 tires off on the inside of the track as they come around to finish that final outside zone.
And I really think Eli having some of those transmission problems earlier in the day are starting to, be a little bit part of his demons right now, being that the track's drying up. 3rd gear's not working. 4th gear is just probably giving him not as much wheel speed as he needs. Probably doing a ton of clutch kicks to try and get that thing at an angle.
All right, let's take a look here at the replay. You can see that big weight transfer there from the CTS up front. And you can see just maybe a little bit too much angle. He's driving down the bank. And you can see bare minimum 2 tires off on the inside of the track before they come through that first inner clip. And then you can see a bit of another straighten there from inner 1 to inner 2 from Eli in the chase, or Eli in the lead. And you can see there as they finish it off, the S550, maybe a 3-4 car gap, but he did cut a lot of the track to make up that proximity. So we will see what happens now as we flip them around, give Nick a chance to lead the way for Eli. As the lights extinguish, they will leave the line. Mustang driven by Nick Johnson in the lead. Big weight transfer there from both guys. Nick doing a much better job keeping that car up on the bank. Eli struggling a little bit to keep some angle in the Cadillac there as they make their way through that first turn. Coming now through the inner clips. Nick doing a pretty good job, but ultimately very, very shallow in that final turn, but making his way out to that zone. Eli pushing up to the side of the Mustang in that Cadillac. This is kind of a battle that I don't want to be a judge for. There was a couple of mistakes on both sides of the bar there, and ultimately going to come down to a very difficult decision here as you guys take a look at this replay. And you can see, like I said, that big weight transfer on the Mustang to keep that car up on the bank. And Eli seems like he's maybe just struggling to keep the Cadillac up there. And very, very wide in the lead, missing that first inner clip completely, but ultimately gathering it back together to make it to the second inner clip. And then once again, that line very, very shallow into that final outside zone as they try to make up some ground there. So luckily in the hands of the judges, you can see on the graphic there, Nick Johnson going to move on over Eli Lucier in the Cadillac. So good job to Nick. We will see him moving forward. All right, we are going to take a quick commercial break here as the drivers get set and get ready to move forward in this bracket.
Link ECU, let's get it.
We got the spiciest K-Series built.
Supercharged Ford Eliminator engine.
Oh, good old SR20 Blink Monsoon is so rowdy.
Naturally aspirated, 1,000 horsepower, LS-based engine, and then we're going to add nitrous on top of it.
Running an S54 controlled by Link ECU. Link direct injection, EcoBoost Fox body.
I actually put an FA24 in it.
B58, E46, Link ECU.
No matter what engine you have, it's stock K24 or it's a 1,000 wheel 2J. Link ECU all day.
far as that's not even new. So what you're saying is we're getting totally normal bend. I'll do my best.
He's gonna be salty. This guy took me out earlier. I don't want to talk about him at all. Okay. You want? I'll leave these here for Ben.
Okay. Bringing a VIP over. Is it Benjamin Bruno? Look at that. AJ giving Ben the A1 performance treatment there. Sure.
He has one in his hand.
You can't get up from there. All right. Are we moving on then? We good to go? All right, pulling up to the line here, you're going to have Troy Manners leading the way from Mo Alderman. This has potential to be a battle for the ages as well. Both of these guys, Jay-Z powered 240 is Troy pulling a big gap there as they initiate into turn one. Troy nice and high on the bank, but Mo running a very, very similar line, just not able to keep up. Troy's car is so fast. As they come now through the center, Troy not really opening up a gap. Mo maintaining the same proximity, but just not really able to make up the gap. Cutting the line a little bit there, getting up to the side now of Troy's car to finish off the run. Fantastic job by both of these guys. Troy putting on a clinic there in the lead. Give you guys a chance here to take a look at the replay. Sorry, we're switching out of commentators up here. Going to have a familiar voice back in the booth.
Well, that's right. Benny B. Guarantee back in the booth for the Great Lakes Pro-Am Series. I'm a little late to the party, but glad to be back up here with you guys. Unfortunately, Darren had to head out of here, but did a really good job. We see a great battle here the first time. Now, Mo Alderman out front of Troy Manners initiates right up against the wall through outside zone number one, hard on the brake. Troy Manners applying the pressure. Inner clip number one, Mo, very nice job. Oh, Troy is gone through the cones, straighten through the infield for Troy Manners, and the chase is going to give Mo Alderman a big advantage going into outside zone number two.
Yeah, talk about an unexpected turn of events there, seeing Troy kind of make that mistake with a big correction there through the center of the track. Give you guys a second chance here to take a look at the replay. They're going to leave the line. Mo's going to lead the way. Troy's car is so fast, and you can see it. Both of these guys, once again, really high up on the bank. You can see Troy kind of nosing in and backing off there a couple of times. Mo very smooth coming off that bank through that first inner clip, and then Troy almost transitions early, maybe even gets lost in the smoke, and just kind of has a big correction, a little bit of a straighten there through the center, but gathers it back up and then catches back up to Mo there to finish off the run.
See, and at that point, I think a lot of the damage is already done, for Troy in the chase there, but I almost wonder if he had dropped some tires on the way out. Decisions are in. Unanimous decision. Mo Alderman will advance over Troy Manners. So Troy Manners getting knocked out here in 8.
And now this battle moving up here is going to be I would say probably one of the better ones of the night for sure. Dirk Stratton versus Alan Boss.
Alan Boss currently in the FD Pro Spec ranks. Dirk Stratton used to be there. I believe it was Pro 1 when Dirk was, or Pro 2 when Dirk was there. So 2 professionals with professional experience. Lights go on. Alan Boss in front of Dirk Stratton through the chicane in that Yeet Fleet Carbon 350Z. Initiates on the bank. Dirk starts to apply the pressure. Alan is right up against the wall. Dirk starting to come down towards the door of that Z. A little bit wide through inner clip number 1, inner clip number 2. A big bobble from Dirk in the chase. Alan, nice job into outside 2. Whoa, Dirk! Looks like maybe even 3 off in the chase there for Dirk, so going way wide on the bottom of the bank.
Yeah, not really sure what went on there between outer 1 and through the inner clips there in the center of the track, but Dirk maybe getting a little bit squirrely, but you can see the experience here from Dirk in the chase coming off of this bank down through. He gives Alan the time to transition and then sneaks his way back in. Absolutely phenomenal initiation from Alan in the lead, and you can see that left foot brake just to keep some angle in the car and stay up on that wall. Dirk, you can see him kind of nose in, put some angle into the vet, and then he gives Alan the time to transition, and then you can see it just got kind of weird, and Dirk had to make that big correction there to get back up to the side of Alan, and ultimately never kind of really does. So absolutely phenomenal job from both of these guys on both sides of the tape.
Yeah, Dirk had to pull some angle out of it to try to get back to the door of the Z, and when he did that, built a bunch of momentum into the bottom of outside zone number 2, ends up shooting him up quite a bit, so we'll flip him around here. Now, Alan's just got to be smart here in the chase, not do anything too crazy, but you know that both of these guys are going to send it, so Dirk Stratton in front of Alan Boss. They initiate. Stratton a little bit shy on outside zone number 1. Now he gets out in the zone right up against the wall. Inner clip number 1, great job from Stratton, big fireball towards the hood of that Z. Alan applying the pressure in outside zone number 2. Really nice chase run, and Alan over angle, gonna fall out and incomplete in the chase. So maybe a situation here of a double incomplete. We'll see on the replay here if that might be the case.
Yeah, and you can see Alan there in that final outside zone just maybe getting a little bit too aggressive and not giving himself anywhere to go and has to angle up, try to take some momentum out of the car, and it ultimately ends up biting him. But you can see here on the replay, very good initiation from Dirk, maybe a little bit shallow, but he does end up making his way up into that zone. Alan giving him no space to breathe right on the side of the vet all the way through that first outer zone. And then you can see the transition here as they go into the final outer zone. And it really looks like Alan maybe just had a little bit too much momentum coming into the side of the vet, or maybe Dirk had to pull a little bit out of it maybe.
Yeah, and it looked like Dirk was a little bit shallow on angle on the way in. As we take a look at the side-by-side, you'll get to see a really good view of it here, but a little bit shallow on angle on the way in, ended up kind of carrying him with a lot of momentum to the apex of that outer zone. So interesting situation here as we take a look. Really nice job from both of these guys in the lead position. Dirk jumps towards the door here, falls back, and then this is where it gets interesting for Dirk. And then Alan maybe applying just a little bit too much pressure there. So we'll see. Tough to even say from the replay if, you know, we're in a double incomplete situation or not. So judges will take a look at that, and we might be seeing this one more time here. Oh, we have a quick second. Take a quick shout out for all these drivers here tonight. You know, with me not being in the booth in the field here tonight, this is no joke running the OSW layout on Lake Erie Speedway. And there's a lot of really talented drivers with some really, really cool builds in the field here this evening. So we take a look here for rounds number 1 and 2. Round number 2 coming right back to you here from Lake Erie Speedway in Northeast Pennsylvania. Tomorrow, the schedule stays the same. Practice at 3, seating bracket 4:30, and then top 32 kicks off at 6. If you guys forgot, and I hope that you didn't, the winner of each round this year, $5,000 to the winner, $2,500 to second, $1,250 to third, $700 to fourth, $350 to fifth, and then that kind of just continues down all the way through 10th. So the Great Lakes Pro-Am Series paying a hefty purse all the way down to 10th with a bunch of other really nice contingencies coming with that. So ECU Master is going to be offering product support to everybody in the Great Lakes Pro-Am Series in the form of a 10% discount each round to the top 10 finishers and an additional product credit to first, second, and third at the end of the year. So on the season points fund, the top 3 are going to take home a $500, a $200, and a $100 credit for ECU Master products at the end of the year. Give a shout out to Distinct Drift for supplying most of the competitors with their tires here for rounds 1 and 2. I was on a set of Zestino Akrova 07A tires from Distinct Drift this evening. Absolutely phenomenal tire. So thank you to Distinct Drift for their continued support of the Great Lakes Pro-Am Series. One other thing that I don't know if you guys got to talking about was the conditions here this evening. So really patchy out there, especially down there in the infield. You know, there's almost like a slight bowl to the middle of the infield so that the water all runs off in one direction. And right there was rather tricky. When we got practice before kicking off top 32, I spun every time right there. So not easy to navigate this OSW layout when it's patchy conditions like this. I'm sure if anybody was watching when Formula Drift took over Lake Erie Speedway a short time ago, it rained for Formula Drift when they were here, and you could see that even the pros struggle at Lake Erie Speedway when we get our monsoons out here at the track, as we've grown accustomed to.
Yeah, and that's what I was talking about earlier. This track is unique in its multiple surfaces. So the way they're running today is you're going to have one surface for your initiation and all the way through turn 1. Okay, I'm getting confirmation that that graphic is actually incorrect, and Alan Boss is going to take the win over Dirk Stratton here moving forward. An absolutely crazy battle between these two. A little bit of hiccups and mistakes here and there, but ultimately Boss is going to take the win and move forward. But as I was saying before the graphic came up there, this track has multiple surfaces, and they are varying levels of grip all the time. And then once you add water on top of it, it just multiplies all the differences and changes.
So up next, we're going to see Alan Boss's teammate Casey Rodriguez out front of Adam Bergener. Horsepower discrepancy. Casey jumps out to the lead, shallow on angle through outside zone number 1, hard on the brake as Adam beginning to creep up, making his way down the bank just a little bit. Nice lead here from Casey, a little bit of shallow angle from Casey in the lead as Adam playing the catch-up game, as I mentioned at the head of this one. Quite a horsepower difference here. If I'm not mistaken, Adam's got a T56 and a 4.8 in that car. Casey Rodriguez, I'm pretty sure, is a 427 LS9 under the hood and dog box combination. So big difference in these two cars. Adam's car a lot more similar to mine, maybe even making a little bit less power than I am having a 5.3. So Adam putting that thing to work.
And you can see here in the replay, as the track dries out, just how much speed Casey's able to carry through that infield into this final outside zone. And Adam just doing what he can there to try to make up some proximity to finish out strong for this run.
So we'll flip them around here now. Bergener in front of Rodriguez. Lights go on, lights go out. Adam Bergener through the chicane. Casey going to initiate here right at the bumper of Adam. Does a good job. Actually ends up down the bank a little bit shallow on the line that Adam is leading with. So good job here from Adam. Casey having to adapt to this horsepower difference. Whoa! A big mistake there from Casey in the middle of the infield. Going to allow Adam to start to pull away. Drops a tire. A little bit shallow on the angle from Adam. But again, with the difference in these two cars, Adam's really making that thing work. So hats off to Adam there in the lead.
I really want to see there on the replay whether or not, I don't know if Casey necessarily made a mistake or if Adam kind of had a slow transition there from inner 1 to inner 2 that kind of choked Casey out a little bit. But ultimately, as a chase driver, it is your job to adapt and maintain your level of proximity and your level of aggression to kind of cater to the lead driver a little bit. So take a look here at the replay. Really nice high line there by Bergener all the way through the first outside zone as they come now into the flat bottom through the center of the track. And you can see there Casey maybe just getting a little bit aggressive coming off the bank, doesn't really have anywhere to transition, and has to give Adam that space to make his move into that final outside zone.
So up next, we're going to have Andrei Musenko out front of Nick Johnson.
You can see there from the graphic on the screen, Casey Rodriguez ultimately will be moving forward in a unanimous decision. Way to go, Casey. Way to go, Adam Bergener, for making it work here tonight.
Andrei with one of the most unique builds on the property. If I'm not mistaken, full carbon Kevlar body on this one, just wrapped up underneath that FCP Euro wrap. So Andrei out front of Nick Johnson. Nick in the Mustang initiates Andrei right against the wall here. A little bit shallow for Johnson in the chase. Doing a nice job here, though, of keeping up with that Audi. Falls back through the infield as Andrei runs another really, really high point lead run here. So obviously I wasn't up in the booth, but I was back on the backstretch watching, and that battle between Shorkey and Andrei was an absolute heater. So Andrei definitely rolling in confidence here this evening for round number 1.
All right, we take a look here at the replay. As you can see, they leave the line. Andrei Musenko with this big weight transfer right against the wall, and you can see the lights reflecting off the wall, so he's probably within a foot or two all the way through. Nick trying to make up some ground there, pulling a little bit of angle. You can see they come off the bank, angling up to slow down the cars and make that transition now as they come to the final outside zone. Andrei pulling ultimately probably like a 10-car gap there all the way through that final outside zone. Nick trying to cut the line a little bit, trying to make up some proximity there as they come across.
So now Johnson in the Mustang in front of Andrei Musenko in the VR6 turbo powered Audi. Both initiate Andrei right up against the door of the Mustang. Oh, a straighten from Johnson. Andrei doing a nice job of staying consistent through the bobbles, applying the pressure, and dives way down in to the front wheel of that Mustang of Johnson. Continuing all the way through outside zone number 2, Andrei nearly putting tire on the door of that Mustang. Everybody put your hands together for Nick Johnson and Andrei Musenko.
Yeah, I would say that chase by Andrei, they're erring on the side of overly aggressive there towards the end.
Well, that's what it's all about, right? You got to remember just to have fun in the car, and that's where it starts, right? And that want for the chase. So take a look at the replay here, and you're going to see some really nice driving from both drivers. Just a couple of bobbles for Nick Johnson in the lead as Andrei just relentless on pressure from initiation, and then not, freaking out there as Nick has to make a huge correction on the bank. Interesting decision for me here with the way that this one's probably tilted, that he's so aggressive through the infield. But does a really nice job of maintaining it, putting tire marks right on the side of that red Mustang of Nick Johnson. So really, really tactical work for Musenko in the chase.
And you can see it there on screen, Andriy Musienko going to take the win. And like Ben was saying, you know, maybe a little bit too aggressive, but ultimately don't leave it up to the judges. Take it into your own hands, and that's exactly what Andriy did there, and he will be moving forward for his efforts.
Stay right where you are, grab a drink, grab something to eat, and we're going to take a quick second to allow these guys to cool their car down for a quick second, get those tires swapped over, and we'll be back to more Great Lakes Pro-Am Series action.
Link ECU, let's get it.
We got the spiciest K-Series built.
Supercharged Ford Eliminator engine.
Oh, good old SR20. Blink monsoon is so rowdy.
Naturally aspirated, 1,000 horsepower, LS-based engine, and then we're going to add nitrous on top of it.
Running an S54 controlled by Link ECU. Link direct injection, EcoBoost Fox body.
I actually put an FA24 in it.
B58, E46, Link ECU.
No matter what engine you have, it's stock K24 or it's a 1,000 wheel 2J. Link ECU all day.
Yeah, it's your boy. It's your boy. Welcome back. We are deep into the bracket here now as we take a look at that on the screen. On the left side, we have Mo Alderman and Alan Boss. And on the right side, it was Casey Rodriguez and Andriy Musenko. So we got that back up on the screen for you. So you can see there was only one bye in the entire bracket, and then tomorrow will be a little bit interesting because there was a lot of carnage today. So we'll see how many guys are able to get it back together for tomorrow. There was a handful of guys that did quite a bit of work. Paul Robinson putting a brand new transmission in his LS-powered BMW in maybe an hour. Amongst other things, I know Eli lost his third gear. So
All right, and lining up now there, you can see Mo Alderman and Alan Boss. Mo going to lead the way here as we get underway to our final 4 for the night. And you can see the lights on there. As they extinguish, they will leave the line. No cones hit. Everything's clean. Mo leading the way. Alan not giving a car between them there as they initiated that first bank. Mo maybe a little bit shallow, but Alan right on the door of the S14 all the way around that first turn as they come now into this first inner zone. Alan once again, maybe a little bit of a correction there as Mo makes his way out to this second outside zone, getting in a little bit late. Alan falling back a little bit, trying to make up some proximity here as they come to the end of the run. A little bit of a mistake there maybe from Alan in the chase, getting a little bit too tight coming off the bank.
Really good run from both of these drivers here as we take a look at the replay. There's one moment in this battle that I definitely want to touch on, but we'll go through it here in the replay. So both drivers initiate. Alan right up to the door of Mo Alderman. Mo maybe just a touch shy of outside zone number 1. Alan applying the pressure all the way through, a little bit wide through interclip 1 right here. So Mo ends up really, really shallow, and Alan ends up just a little bit wide where the track's not quite as dry from these guys driving over it. So this one's still really anybody's to win here. See if Alan can throw an exclamation point on it here in the lead and give the judges a reason. See if Mo tries to make that decision a tough one to make.
All right, we're going to switch them around here. Alan Boss going to lead the way now for Mo Alderman. The lights are off and they've left the line. See what Mo does here in the chase. See what Alan does in the lead. Maybe one car between them on initiation. Alan nice and high. Both tires in that zone all the way around the bank. Mo maybe 1 to 2 cars behind him, but really no space between them. And then Mo shuts it down coming through the infield. Not sure what happened as Alan finishes out the run, puts both tires in that final outside zone and runs it out. Smoke rolling off the back of that Z. Unfortunate turn of events for Mo there.
Yeah, it was a really nice looking run from both drivers until Mo has to shut it down in the infield. I think through outside zone number 1, as we're going to see here in just a second, that Alan probably had a little bit of an advantage over Mo here through outside zone number 1 in comparison of a lead for lead and probably on a chase for chase. So as you see Mo shut it down, Alan does a nice job of getting through the rest of outside zone number 2. Should believe that this should be a pretty easy advance for Alan Boss here into the finals.
And there you have it. Alan Boss going to be moving forward here into our final battle of the night. And now coming onto track, going to be his teammate. So we have a potential all Yeet Fleet final.
If you're watching here tonight on Racing America, on the YouTube, any of the above, and you're a drifter and you want to partake in it, you can do that. So head on over to www.lakeeriespeedway.com. You're going to see a tab that says Get Tickets, or also a tab that will offer you to see upcoming events. You can go ahead right over to the round number 3 and enter yourself for the chance to win $5,000 if you take home the win here at the Great Lakes Pro-Am Series. So make sure you head on over. If you're a Pro-Am driver or somebody that's been drifting grassroots for a long time and you think that you could give it a run for the money, head on over, get you a ticket for round number 3 or round number 4. Or heck, why not both? You know, I was only going to run one round and I ended up with a season pass. So with 320 horsepower at that. So if you think you can't do it, get out here because you can. So today we're running the OSW layout. Tomorrow we'll be running Englishtown the Gambler FD layout. So going to be a lot of fun and a lot of experience as we're going to see Casey Rodriguez in front of Andrei Musenko.
Yeah, this has an absolute insane battle written all over it. Both of these guys, very dominant lead drivers, very dominant chase drivers. And you can see them leave the line here. Andre not giving Casey any space here on initiation. Absolutely amazing initiation by Casey there in the lead, riding that wall all the way around as Andre kind of nosing in and out, wavering a good bit on the bank, a little bit shallower. Now as they come through the center, both inner clips, beautiful job by Casey Rodriguez in the lead, but Andre not giving him any space anywhere, putting the side of that RS5 all over that 350Z of Casey Rodriguez. Phenomenal job by both of these guys.
Absolutely killer lead from Casey. Andre Musenko putting on a show in the chase. Interesting thing that I noticed there before we get to the replay is Andre's car looked quite a bit more gripped up. That might not be the case, just the changing, every lap the conditions are changing. So replay here, Casey Rodriguez fills all of outside zone number 1. Hard on the brake, giving Andre something to chase, and you can see Andre kind of a little bit, he looked a little bit gripped up through outside zone number 1. Then you get back here into outside zone number 2. He applies the pressure straight to the door of Rodriguez, but you can still see, with so much drive in the car that struggling to get to the angle without driving into the side of Casey. So, again, not to say that they've even really changed anything, just every lap, the track's getting wider and drier. The lane is changing every lap.
All right, we're going to flip them around here, give Andre a chance to lead, give Casey a chance to chase as they leave the line. 2 very fast cars, 2 very good drivers. Andre with the big flick into the bank and puts it immediately into that first zone, and Casey all over the door of that RS5 all the way through, pushing him around. Andre doing a great job coming down through inner clip 1 into 2. Casey less than a car between them, falling back a little bit. Can he make up the ground as they come around to finish the lap? And I don't think he's going to catch up to the side of that Audi, but man, what an absolutely incredible job by both of these guys.
So this might be one of the hardest calls for the judges all night. An absolute tip-to-toe battle between Andre Musenko and Casey Rodriguez. Absolutely filthy leads from both guys. Andre all the way through outside zone number 1. Casey right there, nice clean chase, matching the angle really well. I think he did a better job of that than Andre did in the chase. So you can see not as quite much proximity through outside 2 as what Andre had, but Casey maybe doing a little bit cleaner of a job. You can see that difference in grip as these 2 cars have absolutely smoked out the Speedway. As the judges take a look at the side-by-side, this one's going to be tough, Zach.
Absolutely, and you can see here from the side-by-side, very similar initiations by both drivers, getting into that first outside zone very early, but you can see on the right-hand side, Andre a little bit lower down the bank in the chase there, but absolutely insane driving by both of these guys as they come through the middle. I would say Casey through the middle maybe a little bit cleaner, but he falls back a little bit through that final outside zone, and Andre just all over the side of him on the right side of your screen.
I also didn't notice, but not sure if Casey dropped a tire in outside 2. It looked like Andre may have dropped a tire through outside 2. So I had felt that they smoked the Speedway out, but we might be right in the middle of a cloud right now because visibility has fallen to, I can hardly see Casey and Andre sitting back there. I mean, you're looking on camera just to the right of where Andre and Casey are sitting, and you can't even see over there. So hats off to the Propped Productions team for bringing you guys another awesome live stream. Shout out to Darren and Zach for absolutely killing it all day in the booth, and the judges for doing a fantastic job of, giving us a good and fair competition here for the Great Lakes Pro-Am Series. So if you've never been, I highly suggest that you come check it out. One of the best run Pro-Am series in the entire country, if not the entire world, right here in Northeast Pennsylvania at Lake Erie Speedway.
All right, you can see it there. We're going to get that one more time from Andre Musienko and Casey Rodriguez. The judges saying it is just too close to call. Let them go back out and try it again, and I personally am excited for that.
So sorry for the radio silence there. We were all just a little bit dumbfounded. I mean, I'm sorry to be like laughing and unprofessional, but it is absolutely bananas. This fog that has rolled in, it is like almost apocalyptic fog here. I mean, look at the live stream if you're at home or here at the track, and boy, oh boy, I mean, you can't see without a heavy correction on the camera anything. So we might even end up in a holding pattern here potentially, because I don't know how safe the visibility is, let alone the judges trying to decide something. So I can't say that's for certain. I'll check in on that, see if we're going to be in a holding pattern at all. But this is the craziest fog I've ever seen, and I'm right here from Erie. So, I mean, this is pretty wild.
Yeah, in a matter of a couple of seconds, we went from full visibility to I cannot read the labels on the wall of the track. Even the stadium lights being dimmed by the density of this fog here tonight.
There is no speedway left. I really love this shot that you guys are looking at home right now. This looks like it's Erie. Shout out to Matt for the good verbiage there. It's apocalyptic. I mean, look, it's still getting worse as the time goes by. You're starting to lose visibility of the starting arch now. So I'm sure it'll clear here, as we get through the clouds. But
and you can see there on the screen that drone footage is absolutely unnavigable out there for those guys. You can kind of see a tractor tire down there at the front straight. It is insane.
Yeah, I mean, that drone's sitting a foot away from the tractor tire, just flipping through cameras. You can't even tell what we're looking at anymore. So, interesting point there coming from the back. We're just like, I don't know, like a quarter mile off the highway. I'm sure, like, if you've ever driven up in the tri-state area of Ohio, New York, and Pennsylvania, we get snow so bad that you might have to stop on the side of the road. This might be at that level.
Yeah, there's a lot of discussion here in the booth about what we're going to do about this moving forward. If this fog doesn't clear, then it could be deemed unsafe for the drivers to be out there, let alone the fact that as the judges up here cannot see the raceway. So it's going to be an interesting turn of events here moving forward if this doesn't go away soon.
So it was a pretty nice day between the heat and the temperature difference and all that stuff. I'm no weatherman by any means, but I understand why something like this could happen at this point in time. The temperature probably fell off somewhere around 8 to 10 degrees in the last 15 minutes. And we're all the way down to 62 degrees. So hopefully this will move in a timely fashion that we can get going. But as of right now, the discussion that's being had is that it's unjudgeable, it's undrivable. So we'll see what pans out here in the next couple of minutes. So. make sure if you're not already, you stop over to www.lakeeriespeedway.com. Check out all the events that Lake Erie Speedway has on hand. Whether you're coming from a short distance or a long distance, we have an event that would be worth your trip and your time. Bring the family, bring the kids, all that good stuff. There is a drift car up there, but I'm sure they're going to tell them, you know. Okay, so we're making a test lap here from Alan Boss.
Yeah, and you can see there on the screen,
Yeah.
There's just taillights fading into the mist. We have no idea where Alan is
Alan's
at. So.
gone. The camera's somewhere you can see coming back, and now we can see his headlights in the booth. Absolutely would be unjudgeable at this point, and I'm sure Alan, it's probably better for Alan in the car, but I just don't understand how we would judge it, I guess. So we're going to send the judges into the cars. No, I'm kidding. Would be quite an experience. All the judges are drivers too, so they understand, but it might be breaking a little bit. I feel like I'm starting to be able to see like the tractor tires on our side. I can see the outline of the wall of the backstretch now. So we'll see what happens here in the next couple minutes, but I'm sure Alan didn't love what he saw down there. I'm sure it's a lot better. You know, if you've ever driven through fog, you know, you can see pretty good for at least a couple feet in front of you, but still, you know, at third gear or fourth gear, you know, 120, 130 mile an hour wheel speeds with cars of this power, we'd certainly not want to put any of their equipment or themselves at danger to get something done here. I really did. When they wrapped that up, I mean, you know, those are two really high horsepower cars between Rodriguez and Musienko. Yeah, I really thought that they smoked it out. I was like, boy, like, that was noticeable. It must be starting to get really dry down there. I mean, you can see it, especially on the live stream, but
Yeah, and I can tell you as a driver myself, if you ask me to go out right now and throw it towards this banked wall on initiation, the answer is no. I'm not going to do it. It's not safe for me. And you just can't see. And we've driven at Lake Erie Speedway during Matt Series days when it does get foggy like this, especially in the mornings when you wake up on like a Saturday. And it is better in the car for sure, but ultimately for this being a competitive event, you need to be able to see the guys. We need to be able to talk about what's going on, and people need to be able to see them to judge them, and that's just currently not viable. There's no other way to say it.
as I said, I do think it's getting a little bit better. Can kind of see, yeah, the far wall. At one point, I had lost visibility of the track light that's right above the entry of outside zone number 1. I can see that again now. That's probably only maybe 70 yards, something like that, away from me at the booth. So we're working in the right direction. So hopeful to be able to see some battles here as we wait to hear from the organizers of the event with Drift PA, Ohio, New York, and the Great Lakes Pro-Am Series on what direction we're going to go here. But like I said, it might be hard to tell. I know that we've been looking at the same shot on the live stream now for a minute. And yeah, so what you're seeing there now is the www.Lake Erie Speedway that kind of sits up there when we go idle at times. And you can kind of see it a little, maybe. Something being discussed right now is the potential of picking this up in the morning which I don't think is what anybody's really going to want to do, whether it's a driver or as the organization, a judge. Me and Zach, I'm sure you guys at home definitely don't want that, because this has been some hardcore action here in the top 16 between a lot of heavy hitters. So I hope if you're a drifter and you're watching at home that you're salivating to get out here, because, I mean, there's some really good drivers here, and there's still a lot of money on the line to be had. And, you know, that's the thing. Like, it wasn't ideal for me having the car that I have, the power that I have to run a layout like this. But at the same time, you know, if I can get the car in the right spots, that can be really hard to chase for a car that's got double my horsepower or triple my horsepower. So it's really no one's advantage to have, you know, gobs of horsepower, because there's multiple guys in this field that have shown over and over again now at this point that horsepower doesn't mean that that's going to be it, you know.
All right, so it has been confirmed from up here in the booth. We are going to call it for the night, let this fog roll out, and we will be back here tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. to finish off round one, and then we will go into round two later in the day.
If you're here at the track, a driver, a crew member, so on and so forth, again, just to reiterate, we're going to start with practice around 9:30 a.m. tomorrow to let you guys get a quick warm-up on the OSW layout, and then we're going to resume the battles at 10 a.m. So make sure that you hit subscribe on that Great Lakes Pro-Am Series YouTube page or wherever you're watching. Racing America, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to get the action tomorrow at 10 a.m., but you can get it on the YouTube page. I'm getting confirmation it will not be on Racing America tomorrow morning. So if you want to catch the action and you're joining us on Racing America, make sure that you head over to YouTube at Great Lakes Pro-Am Series on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notifications bell, and do not miss out on the action as we wrap up the finals here for round number one of the Great Lakes Pro-Am Series. One guy's walking away with $5,000, the second guy's walking away with $2,500, and the third's walking away with $1,250. So the payout goes all the way down to 10th. You're not going to want to miss out, because the dollars per the W is going to be worth quite the show. So don't miss out. For Ben Bruno, Darren Hardecourt, and Zach Snyder, we're heading out. We'll see you in the morning.